Way! Hello, viewer. Today it's a Sunday, February the 26th, 2023. I am Mr. Brown and I trust you are all doing very well today. On this evening stream /podcast, we are discussing the goings on this week in pop culture and on the social media. But, and it's a big but before we begin, you can find us here on the YouTube, or if you prefer your entertainment in the podcast form, we are also on Spotify. The links are in the description. Spotify is doing okay at the moment, surprisingly. So, if you've not nodded off, as I always say, lots to get through, shall we get the guests out? Of course, we should. Okay then, so, first up, he's back, folks, a talented powerhouse of a man. Just ask as. He is the avenging angel of Twitter. It is problem being.
Wow, what a wonderful intro. I can't ever live up to it, so don't
The
bother
avenging
trying.
angel.
Yes, it's been amusing for the past few hours, but yes, hello. Hello everyone.
Hello, friend.
be
How are
back.
you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah, a bit chilly, but other than that, not too bad.
Are you the? How many Avengers were there? Are
What?
you the 20th Avenger? Marvel Avenger?
Look, if there was a Marvel film about me, it would probably perform worse than Aquaman is going to perform.
Good to have you on, my friend. Shall we get the next body out?
Good to be back. Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay, so from a VPN far, far away, he is the golden reach-around droid of choice. It is Z3PO.
Oh, good evening, sir. And how are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very well and fully functional after a fresh oil bath, and the smell of Uncle Owen is just a deleted memory.
Was the service port dirty today?
I had to scrub it clean 3 times, sir.
Oh,
Oh,
And there's still hair in there. Don't ask me how it gets there, sir. I honestly have no idea.
is it?
I
It's
don't
probably like
want to
cat
know.
hair. It just gets everywhere.
yeah.
Shall we get the next body out?
Wookiee hair. Wookiee
Wookiee
hair.
hair, indeed. Yes, just like Wookiee hair. Get the next guest out, sir.
Okay, I'm at 6s and 7s here. We see next. We see the good inside our next guest. He's back, folks. The Dark Sith Lord Chord. It's the little platoon.
Good evening.
Hello there.
How is everyone?
Better for seeing you,
Superb.
Lord. Are you well?
Yeah, not too bad. Just tired and busy and all the rest
You're
of it.
always tired. It's all that
I know.
hard work you do.
I know. I need a holiday. Also,
And party.
Another holiday.
I've just knocked a whole bottle of vape liquid onto the carpet
Oh.
while we were in the back room, and now the entire room smells like chemical
Parma
cookie dough.
violets.
So, yeah, gonna have to sit in this for the next however long.
Oh, lovely.
So, other than that, you're well, yes?
Other than that, all fine, thank you.
How's the channel doing?
All right, I think I haven't checked this one for a couple of days. There's
Oh,
a
the
short
arrogance
Ant-Man
of the
video.
man.
Well, it stuck something up on the second channel, and that's
Sheer
doing all right.
fucking hubris.
Fucking hubris.
motoring up toward 116,000. I think it is.
Anyway,
But, we will see.
On that bombshell, should we get the next body out?
I think that's a plan.
It is a plan. Thank you, my friend. Okay, so he is the wise elder of the channel. You know the rest. He is the mate. He is the great. I'll start again. He is the great mega geek himself. Ian David Diaz. Ian David
Hey.
Diaz.
Hello, everybody. How are we
Hello
doing
there.
today?
You well,
Good to
mate?
see Ian.
It's me. Yeah, I'm doing okay. How's everyone? Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Good.
Somebody in the chat says the wise elder. Well, there's lots of wise elders in this.
There is, yeah.
There is, to be fair, but so
There's
you
lots
were
of
Quite wise
in-
youngers
elders.
too.
There is, yes.
Yeah.
Shall we get the final person out, Ian?
No.
Yeah, no, yeah. Just leave him.
No, let's
No.
out.
Leave him
Leave him out.
backstage.
Who is he anyway?
No idea.
And last, I think this is what the folks are here for. And last, but by no means least, this guy has been knocking it out the park recently. He's pushing 100k subs, and he's from Ethiopia, don't you know? It is the great, the mighty Paul Chato. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Hello there.
Everyone. I had my icon. I blew this. I was going to do this. This was going to be my. I blew it.
Suave.
You should have done it.
I killed it by putting on my avatar.
That's a sharp jacket, Paul.
Thank you.
No, the shirt's better.
Thank you.
Wow.
It's one of my 70s shirt with my 70s jacket. It's
50 shade of brown.
Fantastic.
It's Paul Chato, everybody. Yay!
thank you. I'm the only person on the panel with an accent.
Quite true. Quite true.
I can put one on if it would make you feel more at home. But
No,
I don't think it would be very good.
I'm the only
Yeehaw!
one. I'm the only one with an accent.
A boot hoose. A boot the hoose with the moose. There you go.
There you go. Thank you very much.
There you go. You're welcome.
How's the channel going, Paul? Your last few videos been fantastic, mate. You're really hitting your stride now, I think.
You know what? I'm just doing what I like. I'm enjoying it. I'm doing the sketch. The sketch work is fun.
Yeah.
Loving those.
My most fun though is I actually consider my channel more performance art, and I've got a good group of subscribers who get the gag, and then they will comment in kind and become part of the performance art.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite thing when they will comment as characters, and I've come up with this new character, a typical guy. So I used him once. Typical. And,
It wasn't that one with the blonde hair, was it?
the
With
blonde
emojis?
hair.
Yeah.
And then I thought I'd bring him back because, again, YouTube is great because you get instant feedback, right? It's not like, the old days of network television. And or the complainers that actually get feedback and ignore it,
Yeah.
which is the theme of my latest video. And so I thought I'd bring him back, and so he's back in the latest sketch video. So I know I love doing it. I love performing. YouTube is a phenomenal outlet for any frustrated former famous person who is no longer famous and can't get it back.
Well, you're doing
It's okay.
quite well, my
I'm
friend.
happy here. I am
2,000
very happy.
away from the 100.
Pardon me, what?
You're 2,000 subs away from the...
Yep.
Nearly there for that silver plaque.
Yep, I got to get the silver plaque. YouTube is holding me back, though. They understand the power of my thoughts, and my criticism is just too great for them to deal with. So they're purposely throttling me back.
I
They
don't
don't
know
want
what's
to give
going on
me
with
that
YouTube
plaque.
at the moment, but anyway. So everything is fine with you, my friend. Great to have you on.
Yeah, that's good. Night. Thank you. This is a fantastic panel. I know several of you and adore your work, and this is fun. It's a good time.
I am truly blessed having a quality of guest like you folks every Sunday. So I do thank you. Shall we get on with it?
Start the topics.
Okay. End of week
Start spreading the
musings.
news.
Start
I was
spreading the
thinking
news.
that.
I'm leaving today.
Ba, 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 ba.
Indeed. Episode 121. There he is, Mr. Chato on the Mr. Chato on the
Yeah, Mr. Chato. That's okay.
with his suit.
That's right.
Fucking stern as fuck.
Yeah.
Very difficult getting some usable images of you, Paul. You need to address that issue, I think. So anyway, shall we move on then? If you have made it this far and you're enjoying this content, and why wouldn't you be? Please like, share, subscribe. Every click will help this.
I didn't check your
grow.
list of slides for this thing, but are you guys planning on talking about the new BBC comedy head honcho and how he's going to make BBC comedy brilliant again?
Good luck with that.
I think the problem is with that, Paul. None of us watch the BBC anymore,
Yes.
which is a shame.
But I'm
Only-
such
only
a
old
comedy.
people watch
I'm
it.
such a comedy hooer, and I mean BBC comedy is a huge.
Yeah,
The best in
BBC
the
of the
world.
old days of the old
Huge.
days. Is
In the old
quite
days, yes, not anymore, mate.
Not now. Yeah.
Have you seen BBC Three? Good grief.
I have not.
Yeah, you don't want to.
I do know that the once mighty, you guys, BBC had shows where they brought comics on to comment about the day's news. And I can't remember the name of the show.
Mock the Week?
What the week, brilliant.
Yes, and now it's just a nothing burger.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
used to Mock the Week and Have I Got News for You?
I
My
Got News for
favourite
You?
comedies were
They
fantastic.
used to be scathing.
Not
Yeah.
anymore, mate.
No,
Not anymore.
now it's very partisan.
Yes. Anyway.
Very obviously partisan.
So, anyways,
Just
just
the
to show
problem
you-
they have. The problem they have is that all of their friends are the people they'd otherwise be criticizing. As soon as you've got their friends out of power, they'll go back to being good comics again. But as long as they've got the cultural power, what are they mocking?
Cronyism, absolutely. Always
We
has
need-
been that way at the BBC, frankly.
we need Peter Cook,
It's more obvious now. Yes! Oh, yes.
Yes,
but not the alcoholic Peter Cook. I saw
Proper
him-
satire. Yeah, real satire.
Those days are gone.
Nope,
Those days are gone.
nope. Those
The
are
good old days.
Okay,
Easy.
Yes,
Anyway.
okay.
I just thought I'd bring that up just to show how cultured I am.
It worked.
It's a shame. We used to love the BBC. Not anymore.
Yep.
It's just something totally different. Okay, so shall we get on with it? So, hello, chats. We can see you. Hello. So, this week, Picard.
Picard.
Was it episode
Two.
Who's what? Paul, are you watching Picard?
Yep, deuxième episode.
Thoughts then of this week's episode?
Me first.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I'm a ripping yarns kind of person. I'm a Star Trek not aficionado, but I mean I'm a fan and I understand its tropes and its canon fairly well. And I thought Picard was kind of a new Trek in the sense that I've not seen like I said, a ripping yarn version of it, and it was kind of fun. I enjoyed
Not
it.
yet.
They did use the member berries of the old cast, but I love them so much that I didn't care. And with my network executive hat on, we're whores. Any way to get the audience to watch your goddamn show, that's our job. So from that perspective, I think they did a very good job. When Worf showed up, I was just cheering. I really, really enjoyed it. So I don't know. I'm a simple man.
Worf has still got it.
Oh yeah, he was great. Great, the gray Worf.
Yeah.
Worf the Gray.
Is there anything you're not liking about this season?
You know what? I didn't see the first two, but I'm familiar
look at you.
with Disco and Strange New Worlds, and so far this is so much better than either of them. That to me, I'm trying to enjoy it as a person and a fan of Star Trek, and I did enjoy it. It's curious that Jake, Crusher's son, has an English accent. Jack, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Jack Crusher.
I didn't know the English accent passed through DNA. I thought that was
Yes.
I thought
Maybe he was brought up in England or something,
something. There's a kind of pew pew aspect to it. You got bad guys with masks on and hoodies covering the rest of their bodies. There's a certain cheapness to it, but on the other hand, it's kind of fun. There's the one actress, which apparently was the former addict that apparently everyone hates.
Raffi.
That's
Raffi.
Raffi. Yeah.
Raffi, man, I'm neither here nor there. I think Jean-Luc is a little fragile for my tastes, but
I love you, Data.
that you can't help. I mean, he's getting older. I mean, if you're gonna put him in an android body, then should have put him into Dolph Lundgren or something.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it?
The logic's crazy. So
Anyway, yes,
you're enjoying it. Yes,
I'm just trying to enjoy it.
You're
Just
pleased to
as
be
they
there.
do.
Yeah. Ian, are you enjoying? I know you're taking one for the team with this. Are you still enjoying this?
Yeah. This episode was okay. The episode one I had problems with. The usual. It kind of had a little bit of woke in the first episode. Second episode was kind of better. We had to wait 3 seasons to get real Picard. When he literally said, delay that order. He was in charge. Then we got Picard back. Would you believe that? That right at the very ending of the episode.
Yeah, a bit croaky, but we got him back.
Yeah, we got him back. I don't understand why he didn't come. Say his command in the first place in the first episode just to get to Beverly Crusher. But it's enjoyable up to a point. And God, I just don't. Do you know what? Right, I hanker. I'm old fashioned. I hanker for the day when it's real models on screen. I know the Enterprise or the Titan looks great, but there's something about models on screen. It's like a magic act, isn't it, when you watch models on screen?
Because it's real.
Yeah, I don't know, but everything just looks so CGI. But I mean, I won't outstay my welcome. I am enjoying it. I'll probably watch the 3rd episode, and it was really nice of the showrunner to be on our stream. What is it? Last week for the first episode.
I still can't believe he was in the chat.
Yeah, I think also Chato. Sorry, I pronounced your name wrong. You were on the chat. You were in the chat as well, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you were in the chat. So both of you were. So. And I take my hat off to you guys. So there you go.
I think it's important in the new world order of how things are working that the people involved in the shows get involved with the fans. Yeah.
He's doing it the right way because he did answer my question and he could have just ignored me. And it's really nice, really nice. That's why I'm watching it, because if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't. I'll take my time watching it, but now I think maybe I should just keep watching it. So there you go.
Here you go, folks. In the chat, Ian Diaz told it straight on Spacebook earlier.
Oh, yes.
Did I?
You did. I mean, especially there was a good part in there about how there are many different music beats which are callbacks to the original series, and they were prevalent throughout this episode.
They were, weren't they? Yeah, they were. A lot of stuff,
even
especially sound
effects.
Yeah,
you can pick them out from previous movies and series that have happened.
But you know what? I loved Shaw, and I loved his turn.
Yeah.
Shaw was great. I love that character. I'm really curious to see what they do with him in episode 3.
Can we see a series with Shaw? Do you think?
Pardon me?
Do you think we could see a series with Captain Shaw?
I love him. I really. You know what? At the very beginning, I thought he was just going to be the taciturn asshole of the episode.
Quality actor.
And then, wow, he did some good subtle work. Even though getting 7 of 9 to do the speech thing that changes his mind, I hate.
No, but the thing is, though, as I said in the other stream, he's right to do what he did. I mean, he has to look after the crew, doesn't he? And Picard, Picard should have really came straight with him from the very beginning. He would have said no, but then he could override him because he ranks over him.
I like Shaw. I'm enjoying Shaw a lot. He's a complicated character that is fun.
Yeah, I agree, totally.
Lord, have you seen episode 2 yet?
I have, yeah.
What a surprise!
It's so incredibly safe. Yep. It's quite unimaginative nostalgia baiting, and in that sense, I know lots of people have said in the beginning that there's the argument as to will you watch it if you watched the first 2 seasons? Because are you supporting the company that effectively killed Picard before they put his corpse on the screen again? There's that argument that goes on, and there's other people who say, well, no, it's a standalone product. That's sort of more my position, which you can evaluate on its own merit. But actually, I kind of think it's benefiting from the fact that such a terrible job was done with seasons 1 and 2, because that means it doesn't actually have to achieve anything. All it has to do is not piss people off, and safe nostalgia is the way to do that. I would take safe nostalgia over embittered politicking and character destruction, which is what seasons 1 and 2 gave us. But if it weren't for seasons 1 and 2 having poisoned the wells, I don't think this very cheap bottle of water would be quite so popular.
Nice.
It's kind of yeah, it looks nice. The soundtrack's lovely. Almost everything in it is a callback. I mean, every plot beat's a callback. Every character beat's a callback. All the sound effects has been discussed. They're all callbacks. Everything has been done before. That's what makes it safe and nostalgic. And it's kind of sad that we're in the state where that's good enough. But we are where we are, and so yeah, better than seasons 1 and 2, but then how could it not be? Or the other weird thing about it, though, is that essentially Picard has had 2 soft reboots in a 3-season run. Now, season 1, like, everyone fucking hates season 1, rightly so.
Yep, shit,
Season 2 doesn't acknowledge season 1, it just proceeds really as though it never happened. It doesn't answer any of the bizarre questions, like why, if you're going to reanimate someone or upload their consciousness into a new body, would you give them the body of 80-something-year-old Patrick Stewart?
Crazy.
Can you imagine being put in that position and told, we're going to upload your consciousness and you can live forever, and then you only find out later that the small print said you'd be a geriatric pensioner for the rest of your life?
But you know what, right? You get
But then
the impression.
season 3, so it's just quickly,
Yeah,
the last bit is that season 3 is another kind of soft reboot in the sense that it doesn't really acknowledge seasons 1 or 2 either, except in one line, because the captain of the Shrike, is it? The evil person ship?
Shrike
says Picard in his synthetic body.
Is a
And as far
replicant.
as I've been
Yes.
able to detect, that is the only acknowledgement that there have been
Yeah.
2 seasons of this beforehand.
But I get the impression that when they did do that, they were making up as they went along. Because when they released it, was it 1 and 2 episodes? I only saw season 1 of Picard. I was so disgusted I couldn't watch the 3rd one. When they were making up as they were going along, like when they got to season 4, they realised that people were really disgusted with it. So that's why they added Riker at the end in one of the episodes, just to boost the viewers up. And I think the Picard thing, I think they added that, but it's really terrible writing. Makes no sense whatsoever. Because they originally were going to kill him off, but they got the impression that, you know, I think they wanted was aiming for another season, so that's why they brought him back. But they didn't think it through. You know, why would you bring him back in his old body? It makes no sense.
Crazy.
Yeah, stupid writing.
Z, you're watching this, yes?
I
You're
am,
up to
yes.
speed.
I'm enjoying it immensely so far.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, as far as the season 1 and season 2 question goes, sometimes you have to go through the Eternals and Shang-Chi to get to a Spider-Man.
Very good.
Yeah. It's all part of the same series, but there's a good one at the end if you just hold with it.
I'm
loving-
gonna call you up on that analogy.
Here we go.
Sometimes you have to go through Shang-Chi and the Eternals to get what?
a Spider-Man No Way Home.
Brilliant.
It's a trap.
So are you guys revealing or espousing a new methodology for promoting shows? Make the first 2 seasons shite? Is this the idea that you're proposing?
No.
It gets better by the 3rd season. That's what the Rings of Prime people told us.
That's true.
Remember?
Yeah, season 2 will give the fans the story they really wanted from season 1. It's like acknowledging that season 1 didn't. So they are already basically doing that. They've tried everything else. We can call the fans every name under the sun. We can say that, well, season 2 will give you the thing that you were hoping you were going to get from season 1. Yeah, why not? Let's do 2 seasons of something that's deliberately bad as a new marketing material that gets everyone talking about it. It's the only explanation I can find for Velma, for example. So yeah, why not?
Velma season 3 is going to blow you away.
It's, are the first 2 seasons of Picard shite because, one, we had the Stuart
Kurtzman.
Stuart wanting to do his Brexit analogy and all that crap.
Yeah.
And Secret Hideout not actually understanding what Star Trek is.
It's not Secret Hideout. It's Klutzman. Klutzman doesn't understand
Well, that's
Star
his
Trek.
company.
But he's in. I mean, well, JJ doesn't JJ own the company with him, or am I mistaken?
Probably. That's Bad
Yeah.
Robot, isn't it?
Is it? Oh, I lose. Anyway, they just don't know what Star Trek is. That's the problem. And
I don't think they care what Star Trek is. I don't
No,
think they even like it,
Yeah,
frankly.
yeah,
That is the new woke, is they actually don't like what was created by the people they don't like. That's actually common across the entire entire pop culture. I think ultimately what's funny here is Kurtzman is gone, Terry is running it. I understand Kurtzman did not like the fact that it's looking to be successful.
yeah.
And if you see the end credits, Kurtzman's executive production credit is huge. Like he's
Yeah.
maybe bigger than anybody
Naturally.
else's. There's a lot of ego.
To match his ego, yeah.
Correct. Going on, and this is a great way. I think this is a pretty good way to go out.
Yeah, I mean, well, Kurtzman, we know he doesn't have any talent because if you look at all the shows that he was involved with, like Fringe, for instance, which is absolutely brilliant as far as I'm
I love Fringe.
he had very little to do with it. He was only exec producer. When he steps out of the shadow and trying to put creative stuff in it, that's when everything falls apart. He has no idea, absolutely none.
Well, he's proven that.
Yeah.
Many times.
Is it true that he put his hand through a wall? Is that true? Because I heard that
A
he was
paper
so
wall, I'm
angry.
assuming.
He was so angry he came into the green room and smashed his hand into a wall or something. Is that true? Anybody can confirm that?
I think he went into the green room and hit Jessica Gao.
All right, okay.
Well, she deserved it.
Oh!
Still after She-Hulk.
Probably you're not watching it, are you?
I'm not.
Get it
I have been tickled a little bit
Get
to
it watched.
think about it. But I think I'll wait for it to be finished first, I think. But I do think certain YouTubers don't really have a particular right to call people stupid names for actually wanting
Well,
to
I'm not
watch
gonna
it,
say
for
anything
wanting
like
something good. No, but I think it's important to remember that if they are doing something right, you need to send a signal to them to say that we appreciate that they are doing something right,
It's a
rather than
vicious
just
circle.
continuing to rubbish it.
Yeah, it's a vicious circle.
That's it.
Postman Socrates has delivered or given me a $5 super chat. Cheers, my friend. Sorry for being late and gee, Mr. Brown. Too little, too late for Kurtzman.
So who else here is loving Amanda Plummer as Vadik? She's so comically peak villain. I was
Yeah, I
expecting her to
I
go
thought she was great.
evil at some point during the episode. She was really.
I mean, she's enjoy. I mean, the thing is though,
Yeah.
she's so over the top that she's enjoyable. That's the thing. It's a real comic book character, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
God, that's our Amanda Plummer. I didn't
That is.
recognize her.
that is, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Part of Canadian acting royalty.
Again, a ultimate member berry. Christopher Plummer's. Is it Christopher Plummer's
Yes.
daughter?
Yes.
Yep.
Admiral Chang.
Right. I have
Admiral
it.
Chang,
That's right.
Star
Let's
Trek
let the
6.
dogs of war. Yeah, that Admiral Chang. Brilliant.
Robert Meyer Burnett says episodes 1 to 4 are effectively Act 1. So
Okay.
we've got 2 more episodes of Act 1. Then episodes 5 to 8 are Act 2. And I think it's 10 episodes, so it's 9 and 10 is the final act.
Yeah, there's no pretext of science fiction. I loved the science fiction. I'm a science fiction nut, so
Same here.
that part of Star Trek was always important to me. But this is much more Flash Gordon, Buck Rogery.
I think that they're copying a lot of movies. Like as I said at the ending, when they go into that cloud thing, that's definitely Star Trek 2, isn't it?
Oh,
That's how I
Oh, yeah,
understand
yeah.
it. So they do that. So they're copying a lot of stuff from other movies and other TV shows and stuff like that. So in some
jangling.
respects, they don't have an original idea because they're just copying stuff. But
It's kind of a shame as well because the joy of old Star Trek is that because it was in its televised format, it didn't feel the need, and it didn't have the budget or the technology to go movie in every single episode. And because it didn't have that, you did have to carry scenes and tension through conversation and through dialogue. You actually had to have interesting conversations to keep the audience interested in what you're doing, because you didn't have the ability to go and do massive space battles. And films are different. The Star Trek films were always different. They always had a markedly different tone, and they were always much less sort of philosophical and thoughtful, because that's kind of what movies are, right? But it's a shame, I think, that we've lost that distinction now, that a televisual, like, serialized Star Trek show should have found it necessary to go and do what the movies have been doing forever, because it doesn't have the confidence anymore that it can keep people's attention by having really fascinating conversations about the concepts it's introducing. I mean, in the heyday of Star Trek, you can imagine them doing some brilliantly well-written, intelligent and thoughtful stuff with something like putting Picard's consciousness into a new body, and the whole sort of mind-soul dilemma that comes from that. And that would have been peak Star Trek, peak old Star Trek, but they don't really have the confidence to do that anymore. And to be fair, you can see why, because Star Trek as a franchise is damaged, and I don't think people would have the patience for it, because it's not earned that patience. You do actually have to go out of your way to earn the audience's patience, and they haven't done that.
And I completely agree with you. And in that regard, they've severed the thread. So if Star Trek, through all its iterations, maintained that literary approach, then that is something that we would have demanded in Picard. Mm-hmm. But they broke that a long time ago. Nobody can remember the things that you're describing.
No.
And what's interesting about the movies is that their budgets were really low. If you look at Star Trek 6, for instance, it was all story based and it was all character based, and that's why it worked so well. Do you know what I mean? And I think having a huge budget doesn't really do you any favors. Having a small budget, you have to literally think on your feet. You have to literally think about dialogue. You have to literally think about character. And so that's the trap, isn't it? The more money you've got, the more you think you need CGI.
Well, lacking a budget is why they invented the transporter.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Here you go. Uninspired reviewer. Small budgets equals create more creativity and incentive to provide better written stories. Well, most of the time.
To a degree, but if you watch the original TOS, which is redundant, sorry, and if you watch Twilight Zone and Outer Limits, all those shows feel the same. People don't realize that things don't evolve out of a vacuum. Often there's a whole bunch of brother and sister entities, creative entities that support each other, and one or two might come out of that group, and everybody remembers those, but they forget the other 30 shows or 30 comedy groups. People talk about, Monty Python. I know the history of British comedy of that era. There were many, lots of comedy of a very similar vein, the Q Show, things like that. And out of that came Python. And it's the same thing with Star Trek. Star Trek evolved out of the that Rod Serling school of writing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Actually, I mean, nothing is ever a classic when it actually starts. Star Trek, got cancelled after the third season. And then it was the repeats that people realized how good it was, and then you got the conventions and the Trekkies and all that, and that's what made it famous, isn't it? Because of the reruns. Yeah. So.
1970s in the UK on the BBC.
Yeah, I remember watching the BBC too. Yeah,
just loved it. Okay. So
the added difficulty, of course, is that you've got a main cast now who are of an age where they really need to be in dialogue-heavy shows with minimal action. Yes. But the opposite's the case, and so you've got Patrick Stewart. It looks like he will be in Pike's wheelchair by episode 6. He's so old.
Well, yeah, he will, wouldn't he? Without the burnt face, of course. I guess.
Yes.
So,
Platoon, make a note of that, and make sure if that's not a pre-written joke that you've now used in our
clip that. Don't worry, we'll clip that.
In this cast, please make sure you've made a note of that and include it in your review.
I'll write it down.
We'll be watching next week. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm genuinely looking forward to it. But anyway, okay. So, Picard, we're loving it. So shall we move on?
Card.
Next.
I haven't been watching this at all.
Who's up to speed with The Last of Us?
You are.
I think so, yeah.
You are.
Z, would you like to go first? Then we'll ask Paul.
I don't know, really. It's not really showing me anything new that I haven't already seen on The Walking Dead. I'm getting a little bored with it.
In Walking Dead, they didn't have two bearded blokes kiss, did they? So, I mean, it showed you that.
Yeah.
There you go.
But for some reason, it's just not gelling with me. The same way the Preacher series didn't gel with me after being such a fan of the graphic novels. It just there's something off about it. The story's good. Don't get me wrong. The acting is impeccable. The special effects and the settings also good. I'm just not enjoying it as much as I thought I would.
Here you go, folks. Appion, hello, Appion. Episode 6 and the Communist. Lol. Paul, episode 6.
Yeah, that was the communist episode.
Yeah. So, are you enjoying The Last of Us?
Yeah. So generally, the thing that I want to have triggered inside me is, am I interested in seeing the next episode? And I am. I do want to see episode 7. So that's the praise I'm heaping on it.
Okay.
There's lots of shows I watch. I go, okay, that's it. I'm done. Like, I'm really not interested in watching another episode. But in this particular case, yeah, I'm curious. I really do like the relationship between Joel and Ellie in this. I like the two actors in it. I think it's strong. I'm very impressed with the production values. I understand the weaknesses that it has, but if you watch David Carradine's Kung Fu, which this feels a lot like, I watch that. There's a lot of bad TV that you watch only because it's comfort food. And this has settled into a nice groove. And there's an awful lot of stuff that I'm not interested in watching. Blood Origin. Like that was a tough slog. That was like going to the dentist.
I did like Kung Fu, though.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's fun in that network TV. I can't. It's
I understand what you're saying. Definitely understand what you're saying.
It's not. I mean, it's a high quality show. I mean, they are not. They are not spending the money on it. My big concern with any kind of show like this is there's no standing sets. Every single show is going to be expensive because they're going to someplace new. Episode 6, they went 3 months, or what was it? 3 months later. Yeah, I could nitpick things. I'm not going to. Yes, I'm going to watch the next episode. That's the praise I'm heaping on it. That's
there you go, folks. Moloch in the chats. My other half doesn't do zombie shows, but she loves The Last of Us. They've nailed the drama.
There's a lot of people that like it.
Lord, are you up to speed with Last of Us?
Yes, although there will be a new episode out, won't there, in a couple of hours? But
yes.
So then we'll all be behind again. But no, I'm up to speed with it. It's I watch it every week, so like Paul says, there is something to that. There must be something to it. I mean, there's so much that's out that I'm not watching, and I am choosing to put this on. I think I'm still waiting for it to do something. The reason I'm going back to it is that, I think episode 3 really did achieve something on a character level that showed it could potentially be more than just season 11 of The Walking Dead, or maybe a slightly better season than that, season 3 of The Walking Dead. And since it's proven it's got that potential, I keep waiting for it to do it again. But it hasn't really yet. That's sort of the one hallmark. The only characters in it that I kind of like that stick in the mind tend to be the side characters. So there's the episode 3 arc, of course. I quite liked the old couple in the cabin in this episode. I thought they were quite funny and well realized. Did you lie to them? No. Are you lying to me? And it's like that's a nice little exchange between two long suffering married people. But it's and everything else aside, good production quality, all the rest of that, it's still not really doing anything for me. So I'm having it on, and then I'm always, with the exception of episode 3, finding that I also have something else I could be doing at the same time, which will take most of my attention. I need to learn guitar today, so I'm going to play that, and then I'll occasionally look up at The Last of Us, or I need to keep editing this thing, so I'm going to go back and edit, and I'll look up at The Last of Us. No, it's still on the television, but did I need to have watched the rest of it to make sense of where I am now? I don't know. Do I really care? Not really. And then you get just the nonsense of the communist commune. Well, we have a commune, therefore we're communist. Like Charles Manson had a commune, and he wasn't a communist. Having a commune is not being communist. I get quite tired of these little fashionable inserts. Like Ant-Man does it as well. The socialist ants, the communist commune, as though all it is just, well, we need something to be this idealized future society. We'll give it the name of a very fashionable political system that just inconveniently happened to have killed about 150 million people in the last decade, or last half century even, and then then it'll be fine. I want to hear something in The Last of Us. If they turn up at episode 10, and they find a different society and an equivalently glib remark made about, oh, we're just fascists. And then we'll just move on as though that doesn't really mean anything. Or we've gone to this monarchist kingdom. Just, it's annoying when that stuff gets slipped in. And it's also
do
a bad
people have
sign
a
when
flat share?
It's the only memorable part of the episode.
If people have a flat share, is that communism? It just doesn't make sense. It's nonsense.
Apparently, well, according to this show, it is. But I gather, I mean, I've not played the games, so I don't know what the equivalent in the games was. But I gather that they skipped that community forward significantly compared to its game's equivalent. So they find the power plant, and Z, I think you've played this, haven't you? So you'll correct me if I'm wrong. But in the games, isn't it the case that they wanted to build the community using the electricity from the dam, but in this show they've just already made it? Is that right?
Yeah, it's already pre-formed, up and running, 100%. Bars, restaurants, schools, everything. In the game, you actually meet up with Tommy and his other half at the hydroelectric plant, which you have to get going for the purposes of their community, which we'll come back to later in the game. It is a nice little interlude, and there's a lot more to do there. Go on.
Sorry, are they like 15-minute cities?
In that you're not allowed to. Yeah, I see where you're trying to go with that one.
Topical.
Sorry, killed it. Sorry, folks,
but
killed
I
it.
think that change. I understand the need to make changes like that. But ideally, you make the changes to get past the gameplay elements that don't work as story elements in a TV show. You don't skip past the gameplay elements that would work as story elements in a narrative TV show. So, skipping forward in time to this very implausibly perfect community, which is already established and functioning, and it's all doing well. They've got all the resources they need. As opposed to showing the difficulties of setting that up as they're passing through, which you could do a lot more with when Joel tries to get his brother to go and help him. What his brother wouldn't have time to do that because he's trying to get this dysfunctional community together. That might have been a bit more interesting to watch for the viewer, something more to invest in about, well, we're seeing the world building done in front of us as opposed to just being launched from place to place, perfectly realized commune to perfectly realized commune, and nothing's ever being done to show us the how and the why of how they got there. So why are we invested in that?
Here you go, folks. Hostman for $5 US. Cheers, Hostman. Show is still mediocre. Game is better. Can't figure why EFAP likes it so much.
I can't figure out why 20 years after the apocalypse there are two obese people living in a mountain.
I want to see an entire series.
Lee, you're very loud.
I want to see an entire series of Marlon and Florence.
Well, that's what I said. So I know Graham Greene. He's a friend and just the sweetest guy. And Florence, who was in that Alaska sitcom from many, many years ago. And I mean, I'm fairly familiar with the community. My wife is Métis, so I've spent time on reserves and stuff. And I loved the moment where Marlon got mad that she actually gave soup to Joel, even though he's pointing a gun at her. Well, he was hungry. He needed to be fed. The dialogue of that was just fantastic. The dialogue.
They were charming.
It was
charming and funny. I liked it.
That was that, and the beats of it were very correct from my
I would sit down and watch a series of them rather than watch this.
Yes.
I am getting really bored of it, quite honestly.
Marlon and Florence. I would watch more of.
Hell yeah.
They're very, very good. And what I didn't like, and I'd like to hear what you guys think, was when Joel got really weepy in front of Tom about, yeah, please take Nellie. I can't handle it anymore. I'm clutching my heart all the time. There's going to be a part later on the show where I'm going to collapse, and please take her now. I hated that. I could not stand that moment.
No, and it did feel slightly rushed, as though they didn't really have much else they could be doing with these two characters to further their relationship in any way. So they had to sort of throw in this abandonment mechanic that comes in. They did try and tie it in, obviously, to the memories of his daughter. But, I mean, that's so obviously the thing to do that you can't really credit it for doing just something that's you would have had to be mad not to do. It just seemed like a bit of a contrived excuse to long that episode and that relationship out a bit, and just to add a little bit of extra dynamic because they couldn't find another way of doing that, which was disappointing.
It can make sense in the sense that he's had to be tough for so long and be tough in front of so many people, but there he is in front of his brother, whom he hasn't seen in 20 odd years or whatever it was, and he can sort of be himself in a way, which you will probably show an ounce of vulnerability. I think they kind of just over-egged it somewhat with the tears. I think that was a bit unnecessary.
It's not like a Star Trek Discovery with the tears, is it?
Oh, it's not. Nothing's that bad. No.
Okay. So for the people who've watched it, are we going to watch the rest of the series? I think we are, aren't we?
We'll watch another one, see how
I'm
it
watching
goes.
another one. But I think Platoon made a really good point in that, for me, I haven't seen, I mean, episode 5 was really good. Lots of kaboom and a lot of zombie things. But I also know that they can't do that every single episode.
And Housewife Fascist. Who was
Housewife
threatening
Fascist. Well, in my review, I don't know if you can see it, but when she mentions it's a communist, it's not, Tom actually rolls his eyes.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the one from last week, the one who got taken out by the steroidal fungi.
No, the like Tom here, the husband of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I went, okay, happy wife, happy life. Yes, dear. Yes, it's a communist community. Yeah, whatever.
Whatever you say, darling.
Whatever. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I can't do it as well as Platoon.
It's because it's this accent. Everything I say sounds derisive and patronizing. So it's tailor made for that kind of thing.
And did you do that with your parents? You can eat your food. Oh yes, of course I'm going to eat it.
It caused. There's a reason I went to live with my dad at 14. We'll just put it that way. It's the one nice thing about The Last of Us. The last thing that sticks in my mind is that for all it does do that random insert of communist thing, the one lesson it's actually showing us consistently all the way through is that the best performing people, the people who best able to live in this post-apocalyptic world, are the people that we currently look down on for being mad, like the survivalist types. And you get the line with Bill, you said the government were Nazis. The government are Nazis. Yeah, but they weren't then. And then you get the survivalists, the couple in episode 6 as well, when they left before all this happened to get away from people, so they're fine. Like I like that approach. Yep. You should get away from people. People suck.
That's why we got our RV.
And on that bombshell, we will move on.
Moving on.
Anybody watch this is out this week. I think everybody's been looking forward to this for a long time.
I just like to say Elizabeth Banks looks great in this poster.
What is wrong with that?
I don't know.
But I think the real story was that it did swallow cocaine, but it just got dreamy and just fell asleep or something. Wasn't it? Isn't that the true story? Yeah. That was
I like the literal poster here, which is a literal cocaine bear.
Best title for a movie, I don't know, in a long time.
Since Sharknado, probably.
Yes.
One of those mini
exactly
shark
what it
films.
says on the tin.
Nobody's watched it yet.
No, I haven't. It's been released. Just been released. I'm going to go and watch it next week. So, but yeah, I mean, the concept is fun. It sounds like fun, and I think that's what's selling it. Not Elizabeth Banks. Obviously, is not selling it because she did bad. She's not a very good director, but hopefully this will be good.
There's a buzz. There's a buzz around it. It's probably because people are on cocaine watching it, but
Yeah,
yeah, it looks fun.
The movie cynic said it was enjoyable.
right. It reminds me of that film Grizzly. I don't know if anybody remember that film Grizzly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grizzly Adams.
No, it was like when they were doing the rip-offs of Jaws. They had Grizzly, Orca the killer whale, and I can't remember what the others were. But
Piranha.
Yeah.
I think properly done, this movie would be very close to Tremors.
Ah, of course, I love
good
Tremors.
film. Tremors is
is a
good.
good film.
And some of my friends who've seen it said that in an effort to make it funny, she lost a little bit of what made Tremors like perfect. I think Tremors is a perfect film.
Right.
Here you go, folks. Speak of the devil, it shall appear. The movie cynic for $10. Thank you, movie. Cocaine Bear was great fun. The title of my review will be The Almost Redemption of Elizabeth
Well,
Banks.
if Blue Boy says it's good, because he said Megan was good, and I went to see that and it was good. And if Blue Boy says it's good, I'm definitely going to go and see
He
it
also
now.
said the Batman was good.
Yeah, he loves Batman.
Right, he could be wrong once. Let's face
Well,
it.
in defence of the movie cynic, we've all got our crosses to bear. So,
Hey, I like
no
Mystery
pun
Men.
intended, by the way.
Mystery Men was fun.
They'll be missing a trick if they don't create some sort of monsterverse with all of these. So I think it's a spoof poster with Attack of the Meth Gator. But,
Yes.
but you could do so many like the LSD lizard, the leopard, and then there's a huge crossover event which is like
grass
the
gang.
Avengers,
Ketamine
but
kangaroo.
it's just these drug addict animals that get together and fight off Thanos. That could be really fun. I want that.
Oh my God, that's good.
Oh, God.
And Elizabeth Banks will still be moaning about the patriarchy.
Hopefully, she doesn't do any of that crap in this film. Hopefully.
I read her quotes on this, and it's more lack of confidence in a funny way, and also fishing for compliments, because it's followed up with her mentioning Ray Liotta. Then approached her and said, "Don't worry, honey, it's gonna be good, and you're gonna be great." And so there's more to that quote than just her saying, "Oh, all these people in Hollywood say that women can't direct action
They can.
actors."
What's that?
Sure they could.
Yeah, of course they can. I mean, I don't understand what's happening in Hollywood. They're all mad, aren't they? All
Well,
of them.
no, but it's always been that way, and everyone. No one has, I mean, how do you say it? These are overconfident people that will lose their confidence at the drop of a hat and become simpering wimps. That's part of the problem and frustration with dealing with Hollywood. I hired a very good actress once that we spent so much time bucking up her spirits before the camera turned on. I finally fired her.
Well,
Because it was just way her stuff on screen was great, but there was like a 5-to-1 ratio in terms of the amount of effort that we were putting in to try to get her there. And we went, well, this is nuts. This is just a complete waste of time. So, Hollywood is filled with people like that. There's a story, and I mentioned it in my video, where Burt Reynolds was scared to death on his first day of shooting his first directorial debut. And he asked his DOP, what should he do? And he said, when you walk out, just sort of survey the scene and ask for a crane shot.
was that what film was that? It was his first debut film. Was it Sharky's Machine?
No.
It wasn't.
I can't remember. Anyway, so he did that. He just sort of walked out into the middle of the crew and all the actors and put his hand on his hips and went, "I'd like a crane shot." And then from that moment on, everyone had the confidence that he knew what he was doing.
And then somebody said to him, "We don't have a crane."
Well, then you get a crane, goddammit. They're expensive to rent, by the way. So, anyways, I saw it more as fishing for compliments. I don't think it turned out particularly well from from our side of the spectrum. It's like, shut up. Everyone needs to shut up. Doctor, Pete Doctor's got to shut up. Halle Berry's got to Bailey's got to shut up. Everyone's got to shut up. Just do your job.
That's right.
100%.
Yeah, shut up, do your job, get paid, and it will all be good in the end. Okay,
I don't hear many British actors complaining.
Oh, they do.
They do?
They do.
just in private.
Yeah. No, but that's, I mean, like...
No, they do it at the Baftas. Yeah, they do it at the Baftas because they have an audience there.
Right. But they're often funny complainers.
They're very polite complainers, but they're very polite. Like if Little Platoon was an actor, he'd be very polite as complaining, wouldn't he? Definitely.
I think
Devastating.
should host the Baftas.
If they pay me, I'll take that gig.
You can't do any worse than what they got for the Baftas. Those two idiots that presented.
There is a story about the Baftas later. Okay, so
we had to put up with Simu Liu hosting our music awards, the Junos. Brutal. Oh man.
It could be. I mean, I was watching the video game awards late. Was it late last year? I think it was. And they don't even go to the level of getting a bad actor on to do it. I mean, they got, well, actually, not quite true. Well, it was all presented by a TikTok influencer, which probably tells you something about the overall tone, because this girl had clearly never played a game before in her life, so she couldn't pronounce any of the titles. They had Al Pacino on, though, to present some of the awards, but he was either drunk or high and or blind, and he couldn't read his lines. So he had no idea what he was doing there either.
All of them.
Probably all of them. It was it was an interesting show.
Ego Hostman been very generous tonight. $2.
Yeah,
Heron. Yes. Winners don't do drugs, folks.
GHB Gorilla.
Shall we move on?
Definitely going to see it though. Definitely going to see it.
Yeah. There's a good buzz. No,
so as far as just so you know, the box office so far, I guess this is just North America. It's Ant-Man and the Wasp was 32 million and Cocaine Bear was 23 mil.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah, I saw a clip of it. Someone had got the figures out for just the last week, and didn't Cocaine Bear take in more money this last week or something than Ant-Man and the Wasp did, which is not by a huge amount, but by enough to be notable, given that Ant-Man is a Marvel film and Cocaine Bear is Cocaine Bear.
Well, Cocaine Bear was about a bear high on cocaine. Ant-Man is about him and the girls that are doing more stuff than him. So he's a co-star in his
communism.
movie. So there you go. And that too. So
I like Melvin deeply.
Here you go, Mel. We will do our best to get you that silver plaque.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Melvin Deeply, subscribe to Call Me Chato, people, or everyone will think you're a Johnny Come Lately. And there's a link there. There you go. Subscribe.
He just needs
I
20.
tried ages ago. Where have you been?
That's right.
Honestly.
I don't like Meghan Markle. There
you go.
Well done.
Okay, let's move on.
Oh,
she's gonna sue you for that comment. You realise you are doomed.
I'm ready. I'm ready for it. Come and
I
get
will
me,
just
Markle.
say the guests do not represent the official of the channel.
You spineless.
This is what they want, folks. Lord Chaw's news round at the Little Platoon. Yes, get in. Here we go. Let's.
Someone always says that every week.
One day we will get the music.
Salma Rushdie.
This is to do with the Roald Dahl.
Rewriting his book.
Yeah, they're rewriting the.
They're not.
New editions.
Who are these people?
Yeah, they've stopped it now. They said they're not going to. So.
Obviously,
Well, ever since Camilla spoke out. Yeah.
No, they're selling both versions.
Yeah.
Oh, for
Yeah, they did continue. They did complete the rewrite.
Who are these unelected fascists? I mean, they are. Let's be honest.
not
Only
even
totalitarian civilizations, or I say civilizations loosely, employ these kinds of tactics. Now, I'm, and Chato same, we're of Jewish heritage. Roald Dahl famously made anti-Semitic comments. By all rights, under the same sort of mentality as these people, we should be demanding all erasure of all of his books. But no, we don't, because you have to separate the art from the artist.
And we drive Mercedes.
And that's it. Well, I don't. My mum does. So.
So that we do forgive.
Yeah.
If it's
Forget,
a
no.
damn nice ride,
German automobiles, yes.
we forgive.
Jim D in the chat, they'll be burning them next.
Yeah, that's not
They
the
will
point. Though. The
indeed.
point is, though, it's a work of art. The stuff
the
that
same
he's done
thing.
is a work of art. Why would you want to change? Because there's a certain words in there. Because there's certain thing like a word like "fat," for instance, is in there.
Would
and
you
they wanna
like to
get
see
rid
the
of that.
words?
Go on in. Ooh, let's have a look.
There's a few different ones that are just sort of unintentionally funny. There's
Yeah.
the wigs comment, which has been replaced to read, and there's plenty of reasons women will wear wigs, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, which just doesn't even fit the tone of the paragraph it's been taken from. Weirdly, that they supplanted in one quote, they supplanted the word "boys" for "idiots," but if you say anything negative about a woman, then that obviously gets fixed, which is just it's a peculiar thing that comes out. But on the point that was raised earlier about why they're not just doing away with his books entirely, well, they sort of do, but within his books. So you'll note, I don't know if you've got the one up, but they got rid of any reference to Rudyard Kipling, because Rudyard Kipling is persona non grata. The only reason they haven't done that to these books as a whole, I guess, is because Rudyard Kipling's reputation has been in the dirt since roughly 1899, and so he doesn't have a huge amount of money value attached to him anymore, whereas Roald Dahl evidently is still a seller, otherwise they wouldn't be doing this. It's a weird, this fanatical obsession with language.
I don't understand. How can they do this? Who is doing this? Do they have the rights to do this?
Yeah, they do.
Netflix has the rights to the books, apparently.
Yeah, Netflix bought up the rights for the Dahl estate, but the review was commissioned before Netflix bought them up by the publisher and by the Dahl estate itself. Netflix just sort of carried on with it. But the people who do it, they are, again, Orwellianly entitled sensitivity readers.
Yes,
sensitivity readers,
yes, that's the buzzword.
They are everywhere. I mean, every major publisher uses these people, and they are people who are employed for no other reason than to comb through text and then find something based upon their own personal lived experience that isn't germane, and then they will recommend that the editor take it out. I've read interviews with these people, and they're really sinisterly nice. Like, none of them believe that what they're doing is evil, obviously. They think that all they're doing is just trying to make sure that the kids of today are given proper contextual, banalized information. It's quite sinister the way that they genuinely don't see the issue with going around and believing that they, most of whom are failed writers themselves, by the way,
if they
are
do this with
better
books, they'll
than
be doing
actual
it with
authors like Roald
films,
Dahl.
would they not? They will do it with films. If
Well,
they've
we've
started with
already
books,
we saw
We've had
Kevin Spacey
warnings.
airbrushed. Kevin Spacey's been airbrushed out of everything he's ever done, hasn't he?
Really?
Gone
So
with the
that's-
Wind has
that
got an
happened.
advisory on it.
well, okay. What about barbed wire? Have you ever seen barbed wire with what's her name? Pammy Anderson. Have you seen that film?
Oh,
They would literally just wipe it off the face of the
Begs the
earth.
question what they would do with Blazing Saddles.
Exactly, that
Doesn't it?
too.
I mean, you can imagine how awful that would be if eventually they use AI or something to redub and remake the movie, taking out all the certain words and things. It just defeats the whole purpose.
I mean,
And
it's done.
you shouldn't be erasing history like this. This is
Publishers and
history.
studios do it. It's kind of a means of reputation management, and it's a response to the relatively recent outgrowth in sort of Twitter outrage campaigns. So we can sit here, and most people, I think, in editorial departments and publishers would probably also agree that this is complete nonsense. But they've been sold the prospectus that unless you do make these changes, you are always 5 clicks away from being the latest Twitter demon and bogeyman. So it's in everyone's interest from a corporate level to try and minimize the risk that you are going to be exposed to that kind of negative publicity campaign. Whether or not it survives, given the recent, the failure of those campaigns against Hogwarts Legacy, for example, which have proven that boycott campaigns don't really have legs if you don't believe they don't, if you don't believe they do, even. I don't know. Hopefully, the days of sensitivity readers will be short-lived. But the obsession with language is just it is key to the sort of the very milquetoast totalitarian mindset that we sort of suffer under today, which is that these people with no qualifications and with no achievements to their name at all are brought in on the grounds that they are gay, disabled, lesbian, trans, black, whatever, and they are just given these manuscripts and they are told, read this for us, and if there's anything that you think you don't like, just tell us and we'll get rid of it, and that's all it takes. And it's language policing. There's W.H. Auden wrote, there's a poem in memory of W.B. Yeats, where, if my memory is not being overly taxed, he writes, time that's intolerant of the brave and the innocent, and indifferent in a weak to a beautiful physique, worships language and forgives all of those by whom it lives, pardons cowardice, conceit, lays its honours at their feet. Time that with this strange excuse pardons Kipling and his views, and will pardon Paul Claudel, pardons him for writing well, which is interesting sort of as an historical comparator, because W.H. Auden was very firmly a man of the left himself, but incredibly naive in the turn that the left eventually took. He believed that solely by virtue of having literary talent, you would be forgiven every sin and every ill. That's no longer the case. Now, precisely because words have that power over culture, they have become tools to be weaponized by people with very, very particular political campaigns to wage. And so they have turned against the sort of the liberal arts spirit of W.H. Auden's prizing of language. They have acknowledged the power of language, and that's why they are so obsessed with changing it.
To me, it's a lot like the evolution of anything that's popular. So I'm going to make this a very crude example. People will look at a band, a heavy metal band, not realize that, their popularity is not made up from boozing and whoring, but that they're actually good musicians and have actually got a library of music, and they've been touring for decades. A young person goes, wow, all I see is the whoring and the hair band part of it. They don't see the musicianship of it. Well, we can argue whether heavy metal bands are musicians. I'm not going to get there. This is my bad simile. And this is what's happened, is that you've had the intellectual left, and people who actually created interesting, good products, properties. We're now seeing young people who want to be on the left and just see the reactionary side of things without doing the work to become good at the thing they claim they want to be. Like these people who are going through Roald Dahl's books, who are failed writers, as you said, and they believe that they have the wherewithal and the skill to make these changes, even though they've not done any work on themselves. And they, maybe they would have the permission to make these changes if they've got a bunch of books that sold well. But I would put it to you that if they had a bunch of books that sold well, then they wouldn't be pissing away their time at one of these shithole jobs, censoring other people. That's the irony. So this is the limit of their abilities. So that's my weird analogies. I apologize ahead of time.
The cynic in me thinks that this has just been a really successful marketing campaign to
there's
generate
that too.
interest in Roald Dahl, because they haven't actually had to do much of anything to get everybody talking about
Well,
it.
Scholastic is going to sell a whole bunch of new books to sensitive schools. So there's going to be a lot of money in it. They're going to get rid of all the old stock, replace it with the new sensitivityized. Is that a word? Roald Dahl books. And
but kids and young people have got to be exposed to hardship to actually grow as a person. If you take all this stuff away, if you take all the stuff about the history of mankind and stuff like that, they're not going to learn anything. They're going to be
their parents are spending all their time looking at their phones.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
No, I agree with you, but I mean,
crazy.
Parenting is dead.
Yeah, it is, because they're scared of their own kids. That's why.
I think so too.
In the old days, smacking around the head and they'll listen.
It's the coddling of the youthful mind. If you read the changes that have been made, it's not as though anything that's being changed is something that there's even majority agreement on that it's wrong. So very slight changes to sentences which use, say, the word nutty, which some sensitivity reader has decided demeans mentally ill people, so that has to go. But you give that to any kid, and the word nutty will be added to their vocabulary, sure. But the only person making the association between nutty and people with mental illness are the sensitivity readers themselves. So,
agreed.
There's no reason to change these things. It would be different, and I think there might be an example later on of something that's being censored, like the N-word being taken out of a book produced in a particular era. I still don't like that, but that's at least more understandable. It's not minutiae. It doesn't. Yeah. That is quite clearly a reaction.
You're creating weak people.
Yes.
If you do this, that's what you're doing. I give you an example, right? And I think Ian knows this, right? I cast someone in my web series, and it was all going swimmingly. And then one day she said she didn't want to do it because she had anxiety over doing the role. Anxiety? What? I've never heard that before in my entire life. You offer her a lead role, and she still want to do it because of anxiety, and she was really being serious about it. What kind of people?
As I've said before, you give me anxiety.
Do I?
But then you get Morphith Clark in Rings of Power, who says that she has to go away and do therapy after she's been in a fight scene.
Correct.
Which is much the same mentality at play. And the other side of that, of course, is that it's censoring very seemingly innocuous things that sensitivity readers have just invented the problem with. But it's also gone one step further in being so nakedly about a particular modern agenda. So there's a passage in The Witches which is changed because a character is referencing a woman they might meet working as a shopkeeper or working as a cashier in a supermarket.
There you go.
And the sensitivity reader has changed that to working as a top scientist or running a large business. So, like, The Witches is now doing its bit for women in STEM.
That's right.
That's so obviously just pandering to a positive political campaign for female empowerment.
I think witches in STEM would be more useful.
In the chat, Rand's Little Toe, what's wrong with being a cashier or being a receptionist? They are fine jobs that allow people to pay their bills and support their families.
And they're also, within the context of the work itself, the people you're likely to meet in day-to-day life. If the kid who's being told, in the book, if the kid who's being told about the cashier or receptionist is saying anything, they will know cashiers and receptionists because they've encountered them. But the kid in the book is not really likely to have come across any top scientist of any gender or anyone running a large business because that's not where the kid's been brought up from. That's not how they live their life. It doesn't make sense within the context of the book that's been changed, never mind outside of that. So so it's not just a real-world sort of political campaign to make everything banal and comfortable. But it also does do real damage to the meaning of the sentences and the setting of those sentences within the books themselves. Because there's no way in that actual world that's being edited posthumously that sentence actually follows. It just doesn't work like that.
And who would believe a woman is a top scientist? I mean, come on.
Shall we kind of move on from this?
Move along.
It is like the unacknowledged meta of this channel, though, is that whenever you say, shall we move on from it, the next topic is the same thing. So I'm assuming the next topic will be the same.
Well, up until this morning, it wasn't going to be. Anybody see this?
Yes.
They're doing it with James Bond.
Why, though? Why?
There
This
you
is
go.
ridiculous.
Because it's the patriarchy. Keep up.
My God.
So what's the story here?
All that it's about.
So the story here is that, similarly to the Roald Dahl one, sensitivity readers have been going through Ian Fleming's Bond novels and changing passages, changing words, removing words, changing meanings, doing much the same thing. The difference being that is it a difference is the interesting question. So some of the words being removed, for example, would be the N-word. And also, Ian Fleming himself did give permission while he was alive to his American editors to make whatever changes they wanted to his text in order to make it sellable to an American audience. So the American versions of the novels tended to tone down sex scenes, just to cite one example. And that's something that these guys are doing with these reimaginings as well. So it's an interesting dilemma if you don't like people making these kind of posthumous changes, which I don't. Is the author's intent relevant to that? So if Ian Fleming gave permission for editors to do this while he was alive, does the permission extend to the modern day as well? In other words, is this change the same nature of change as the change we just discussed? And if not, why not?
No, it
I
doesn't
think the
matter
artist
anyway.
is separated from the art at that point because it
Films.
belongs in the public realm.
Well, look, James Bond novels don't sell as much as the movies. If they try to change the movies, that I'll definitely. But for the books, I don't really care about the books. They can change books.
Here you go, folks. A little bit of top trivia.
Yes,
Stuart
indeed.
Mitchell. Hello, Stuart. Roald Dahl wrote the screenplay for one of my favourite Bond films, You Only Live
Wow.
Twice.
He did, and he was responsible for that trope in Bond where Bond knew everything, and that's where it came from. You only live twice. Like, what do you know about the Moonraker 007? And he knows exactly what about it. What do you know about this? And he knows exactly about it. And he knows about wines. He knows about this. That's where it came from. Roald Dahl was responsible for that in the Bond movies. So there you go. Bit of trivia there. There you go.
So will Odd Job now be known as Mr. 0 Hour?
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, there is one of the passages that's been changed is derogatory references to Oddjob, funnily enough. So that's been changed. But again, it's interesting to see the priorities of these people. So negative references to black people have been removed, even ones which don't include actual slurs. There's a passage which says where Bond is saying they're generally well-behaved and law-abiding unless they've had a bit to drink, referencing a group of black people. The unless they've had a bit to drink has been cut entirely, so now the sentence just reads, they're generally good law-abiding chaps. The fact that in the book they go on to become a criminal syndicate is neither here nor there. But if you compare it to any derogatory comments made about Asians, for example, they tend to remain in the book. And most derogatory comments about gay people, I think, also have remained in the book. So it's very specific in this case. If you're perceived to be derogatory against certain protected groups higher up in the hierarchy of victimhood, that will be changed. But otherwise, we're not going to apply the same standard, which again just opens a sensitivity reader up to the charge of being politically selective in what they're choosing to change.
When are these sensitivity readers going to sensitivity read and censor rap lyrics?
That's coming.
I don't think it is. That's the thing. I don't think it is.
No, 'cause
If
there
they
was the
make it
famous,
law, it will be.
The famous occasion where a child, I think it was, she was like 14, she was a white girl, her best friend in school had died, and she reposted the lyrics to the best friend's famous favorite rap song, which contained the N-word. And the 14-year-old girl, I think, was expelled from school for this and made the victim of an online hate campaign for being racist, for reposting rap lyrics written by somebody else from a song that was the favorite song of her best friend who died. So you are allowed to do it if you are black, and you're not allowed to do it if you're white, is one obvious thing. But that does tend to fall apart at the seams when you start interrogating the reasons why. I'm not really evincing a position on whether or not white people should be allowed to quote black people using the N-word, but I don't think it's a very sensible state of affairs where you're allowed to speak or say certain things solely based on what skin color, sexual orientation, or gender identity you happen to espouse.
Tarantino's in trouble, then, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's been saying the N-word forever, isn't he?
Well, the Dilbert author is in trouble.
Oh, yes.
Yes, he is. Yeah, I saw that.
Scott Adams.
Oh, he's not in trouble. They're just saying that. I mean, God.
Well,
I mean, the guy's a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, exactly.
None of this is going to hurt him.
No, it's not. It's
But
not.
he is in trouble in the sense that his cartoon strip's just been pulled from every major publication because he shared the results of a Rasmussen poll.
Correct. He added
which
his
is-
own little spicy
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that
interpretation.
interview. Yeah.
Well,
that
you're
was
best staying
awkward.
away from them. Yes.
I shall not comment.
Okay, so I would say I actually care about this, but they killed Bond, so we'll move on.
True. No sensitivity reader can undo the
Well,
damage done by No Time to Die.
The woman in every single Bond book will now be the person driving the car.
Did anybody
And
see this
firing the
tweet
guns.
from Ricky
Yep. Saw
Gervais
this.
this week?
Yeah. Yep.
Obviously, this is all connected, isn't it?
That's good. I mean, he doesn't take any shit from anyone.
It's fucking great, is this?
Yeah. And he's probably the only, what is it? The Golden Globes, I only watched it for him. I watched his bits
Brilliant.
and then that was it. I didn't watch the rest of it. And I watched his opening thing, which is hilarious. And it wasn't even worth watching the rest. The rest was absolute drivel. There you go. They should have got him to present the Oscars.
It's
That would've
uncancelable.
been
Those
isn't it?
amazing.
Golden Awards videos on YouTube, but really amazingly high views, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was just it's so popular for speaking the truth to power, which is what we love.
But how long is it going to be before they use things like revoice to just overdub what they want him to say?
Ah, well,
It's on its way.
Yeah, that's coming. It's very close.
I do think obviously he has a point, doesn't he? So
My understanding is that British stand-up clubs are very afraid of the woke.
it's all
Yes.
right across. I think even in America,
It's different in America. Stand-up is, because it's originated in the United States, has a very different status, and you can get away with a lot more.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can.
Did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. There's clubs
Yeah,
that
nothing so
won't
virtuous. Nothing so virtuous as a society run by fear. That's never gone wrong before, has it?
And
There was
I don't understand why such a tiny segment of the tail is managed to wag the
Wag
rest
the
of the tail and the dog. I'm just not getting it.
I don't. It's
If
ridiculous.
someone could explain it to me, I'd be very happy.
All
It's fashion, and the fact that all of these people grew up together. Fashion determines a lot of major, like mainline conspiracy theories are so much better explained if you believe that most politicians only espouse the views they espouse, not because they hold them, but because they believe it's fashionable to do so. A small group of what you might call the cultural elite decides what is fashionable, and everybody then falls into line, because to not espouse those beliefs, whether you believe them or not, is irrelevant, but if you don't espouse them, you are not seen to be fashionable. It's why actors turn up at Davos, and why Davos invites actors to begin with. These people are just trying to seem quite trendy. There are a few very serious believers at the top who undoubtedly do mean what they say, but for the majority of people who then go on to take these things up, it's not. It is just a matter of fashion and not belief. The people who believe these things in private is much smaller than the number of people who believe these things in public. And in a sense, that's always been the case. So you can go back to the 70s. Is it the 70s or 80s? And Tom Wolfe writes Radical Chic.
Entities?
I think it was before then, so it's Radical Chic, and then Mau Mauing the Flag Catchers as well, but talking about how Leonard Goldstein and other people in the high society of New York would invite the Black Panthers to dinner parties, knowing really deep down that the Black Panthers, if they got their way, would expunge the high society of New York from existence, but they had them there because it was seen to be fashionable, and this way in which pop culture, I mean, even you can go further back than that. The biggest donors to Lenin's Bolsheviks when they were starting to rise up in Russia were the big banking chiefs, because they thought it was fashionable to be seen on the side of the working class. That worked out very well for them as well. So fashion does determine the public actions of a lot of these people, and then of course fashion determines what is socially unacceptable, acceptable and unacceptable to say, which then leads to things like sensitivity readers having outsized say in artistic production, because big publishers are very scared of being seen to be on the wrong side of what is essentially a fashionable movement, whether that's trans rights, gay rights, black rights, whatever. And yeah, it gives a lot of power to a very small cadre of true believers, but the majority of these people are just like what's the old fellow travelers? That's the word I was looking for. Just useful idiots. As they
And
might
it
be.
manifests itself in places of power like Hollywood, and it's been like that for a long time. You want to be able to eat lunch with different people, and if you don't espouse the same views, then lunch dates will get canceled. And you cannot not lunch with someone. It's very people apologize. Oh my God, it's one of the things that oh my God, drives people nuts in Hollywood if they've been turned down, for a lunch with a certain individual. Oh my God, what did I say? Did I say something wrong? And they go back through their past. And it's I don't know what the word is, but that's always existed, and that's, I think, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons George Orwell, for example, never really became what most left-wing progressive journalists today become, which is a celebrity in his own day, because he used to refuse to go out to lunch with anyone he was going to write about, because he knew if he went to lunch with them, he'd probably find he quite liked them, but then he wouldn't be able to write about them objectively and critically. So he just didn't go to lunch with them, which means that he was very well renowned as a good objective journalist, but he was never a celebrity until after he died.
And there's this wonderful quote that someone made when the Syrians were approaching the UK wanting asylum, and Lily Allen and her cohort of champagne leftists were yelling from the ramparts that we must let them in and treat them well, and someone said, why don't you house a bunch of them in your mansion? And she shut up.
Yeah.
I mean, most of us were just against hypocrisy. We're tired of the hypocrisy.
Eager folks in the chat.
Yeah.
What?
We are powerless, yes. In the chat, the timescales. The little platoon has some good commentary. A surprising intelligence.
Yeah, vote for him to be Prime Minister.
It's not
Everyone, please.
It's not your mother, is it, Lord?
Vote for me and I'll abolish the position. So that's
There you
one
go.
reason to
Tim, I like saying this, Hannah and vocabulary. I can't say that.
Vocabulary.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Shall we move on from the very funny Ricky Gervais?
No, Ricky's good. I was arguing with a champagne left here in Toronto, very wealthy person, a woman, and I said, the only reason that you talk about BLM is because you like to keep black people as pets. And she hung up on me.
Oh dear.
Wow.
I wonder why.
Well, I felt she didn't have a single black friend.
So she went to the shops to get some Soul Glow. That's what she wanted.
That's right. Sorry, I was very harsh.
Soul Glow. Anybody see this?
This is
Oh yes,
brilliant.
yes. This is.
Absolutely
I wanted to
brilliant.
talk about this.
Yeah, he doesn't need to apologise to anyone.
Nothing to apologise for.
And the film is funny, and it made a statement. You know what I mean? It's just a really good movie. So, sod them all. That's all I can say.
It's a
still
great
refuses to apologise.
Yeah, it's got nothing to apologise for at all.
And it's a movie like Blazing Saddles. I don't think you could do now.
Exactly. You can't do it now. Robbie Downey Jr. was, he was on Rogan, wasn't he? And he was talking about the role, and he said that his wife convinced him to do it. He wasn't going to do it, but his wife told him to do it, so he did it.
I mean, isn't the point of that he's satirizing method
That's
acting,
right.
right?
That's right.
If you get to the point where you're not allowed to do satire of method acting, you're either allowed to do satire or you're not allowed to do satire. And if it's now not acceptable to do what he did in Tropic Thunder, well, you can wave goodbye to satire as an art form, because you have to represent the thing you're satirizing, really, in order to satirize it.
That's right. I like the bit where he goes, "You people," remember in the film? That made me laugh so much.
Oh, you mean this, Jim D? What do you mean, you people?
Yeah.
I think Appion. Here you go, Appion. Tropic Thunder is my movie.
It's a good movie, man.
I think I need to revisit it. I watched it at the theatre. I thought, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen it again. Maybe I should revisit.
I think it's the film where Jack Black got hit by a cow or something like that. He was telling the story on Graham Norton that some, like a big, was it a moose or something like that hit him?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it's got a lot of history behind it, especially the making of. But also it's got Tom Cruise as, I can't remember the character he was playing. He was hilarious. Yeah, absolutely hilarious. The dance at the end, the false arms that he wore, the hairy arms. I just thought that was, first of all, I didn't think it was him. And then towards the end of the movie, I realised it was him. I mean, what a great performance, eh? What a terrific film. Absolutely.
Here you go, uninspired reviewer. Apparently, I have to watch the director's cut of Tropic Thunder.
There is a director's cut?
I just want to say that as a Jew, I thought Tom Cruise enjoyed that moment way too much.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay. There's nothing to apologise for. I think the day that he apologises, I think we're all done for, aren't we? So.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we move on?
What's this?
Speaking of war, did anybody see this tweet? Sorry, people, this is just one little bit of politics. Sorry.
This is the one where NATO said that it was fighting with the Harkonnens, which implies that NATO is the villain in the war because they don't understand what pop culture is.
Oh dear.
Oh my God.
They're just referencing all these pop culture.
Things. Oh, God.
We are Harry Potter and William Wallace, the Navy and Han Solo. We're escaping from Shawshank and blowing up the Death Star. We're fighting with the Harkonnens and challenging Thanos.
Oh,
Don't you realise it's not one movie, right?
Yeah.
I had a
It's like
quick.
we cannot possibly comprehend war without this many pop culture references in it.
It's ridiculous.
1,800 civilians have been killed, allegedly, and they're just doing this tweet like it's just a big kind of
Pop culture
movie
reference.
type.
Yeah.
The offensive thing is hearing.
I just don't get it.
The offensive thing
Are
is
they
hearing
saying?
the
Are they
Navi
admitting it's all
mentioned in that
CGI?
context.
Yeah. No, I agree with Ben.
Sorry.
that stupid film was mentioned in it. With all
How,
those
how
other
many
top ones.
how many people reading that because of its pop culture references actually know what the hell a Navi is?
Navi
I don't
is,
think
yeah.
any of them do.
No.
And you can see why they do it. Like propaganda is as old, if not older than war. It's a canny form of propaganda. Everyone involved in war does propaganda. The British, some of the best war films ever made by the British in the 1940s and 50s, are propaganda films first and foremost. I don't see a necessary problem with that. It's just when you make something so obviously trite as this, I think, that it becomes.
Shit. Bad taste, if anything.
Yeah.
it's stupid.
Melvin Deeply, hello Melvin. It sounds like Ready Player One.
Their next tweet is going to be trans women are women. That's going to be their next tweet.
Ukrainian trans women are women, and Vladimir Putin wants to stop that. So that's why we need to send them many billions of dollars.
But if the Ukraine's Harry Potter, aren't they inherently transphobic as a result?
That's the problem.
Cancel the Ukraine.
And cancelling my monetization.
That's right.
Okay. I just
I
think
was
this is-
supporting the Ukraine war, and now that they've associated themselves with the evil JK, I'm no longer supporting the Ukraine war.
Now it's a transphobic war.
Now it's a transphobic war.
I hope the person who
Touche.
did that tweet was sacked. But anyway. Okay. Shall we move on?
All the Rings films.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I don't understand. Are they remaking Lord
No.
of the Rings?
No,
No.
What are they doing?
New
Anyone?
films.
I think it's a new film sequel trilogy. We
Oh,
all know how those work out.
is it based on any books, or just making up as they go along?
They'll be making up as they go along.
Oh, okay.
They won't be doing the Silmarillion or anything sensible.
They, as far as I understand the rights situation, Warner could actually do that because they have the rights to the books that Rings of Power didn't have the rights for. Because Warner and New Line, I think, is it still Soul Zents or has it been rebranded as the Tolkien company or whatever? From what I remember of the rights situation, they can actually adapt books as opposed to Amazon, which could only adapt the appendices. So if they don't adapt books, it is because they have chosen not to, as opposed to them being legally incapable of doing that. But I might be wrong.
Amazon really only had the rights to the books Flyleaf.
Yeah, I think it amounted to about 34 pages of notes for the Fellowship of the Ring, and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but it was adapting the story only referenced in those footnotes. So it essentially had a list of names, a couple of dates, and a few places, and that's all they had to work with.
They got hosed.
Yeah.
Do you think
Does
this will
anybody
happen?
want
Do you think the
this?
film will... Yeah, I was going to say, do you think it'll happen? Does anybody want it?
Nobody's asking for it.
Are we going to get it now?
That's a good point. And has Rings of Power poisoned the well?
Well, whatever.
And who, honestly, in modern day Hollywood has got the writing chops to be another Tolkien?
Well, apparently this is going to be helmed by Jackson.
I saw that, yes.
Interesting.
Well,
I'm
I think
interested if
he's
he's
going
on
to
board.
be involved. I don't know if he's directly involved or if he's just there for advice and to oversee
The quote
it.
I saw from him was that the studio had kept him in the loop every step of the way. So he's being consulted. Whether he goes back and actually directs is another matter. It sounds like these are quite early on in development, if they're even in development at all, probably planning stages at this stage. So I would be. It's not sure. I'm not sure they've got a director attached or anything like that. But on the one hand, it would be really lovely to see, because there is so much you can do and do brilliantly, because there's so much brilliant material you can adapt if you've got the rights, which they do. And Jackson has proven himself capable of doing that. On the other hand, he's also proven himself capable of not doing that, because he did The Hobbit, and The Hobbit was garbage. So even just having Peter Jackson on board is not this holy grail moment where everything comes out correct. You have everything else to contend with. How is it going to be written? By whom is it going to be written? Are we going to see the exact same drive toward diversifying the cast and making sure that everything is updated for modern audiences, as we've seen in every other recent adaptation of much-loved old property? So the fact that they have the rights, they have the ingredients, does not mean that they are any good as cooks, and it could just turn out to be complete garbage, which would be a real shame, because at least we understand why Rings of Power went wrong from a lore perspective. They just couldn't use it. But this could be successful. The only reason this would not work is because of the deep-seated flaws and faults within studios, the writers they choose, the directors they choose, and the culture that they operate by. That's the only reason this would fail. There's no necessary reason for it to fail.
And the pressures studios place on the creative people. Jackson did not want this to be a three movie, The Hobbit to be a 3-movie enterprise. That certainly ruined it. We all know The Hobbit is not as well written as Lord of the Rings. It's not a ripping yarn. It's got good moments, and the moments that were bad in the movie. And the other thing that, I mean, I'm just going to defending or not defending Jackson. The 3D was a big deal when The Hobbit came, and we had to endure the inexorable rapid camera movements into the bowels of the not the Gollum, the all those tracks, all those mining carts, and
oh god, yes, the mining sequence, yeah,
yes, all that bullshit. That was horrible, just brutal, and that was 3D service.
It looked like a video, didn't it? It looked like a video.
Uninspired viewer, we endured 60 frames per second 3D.
Yeah, it was terrible. But these were all decisions that the studios demanded Jackson comply with. So Warner's is known to be a very meddling studio.
Micromanaging. Yeah.
Yeah.
When are they going to learn, Chato? When are they going to learn?
They never do.
Studio interference is not a good idea.
I've been there.
It's just it's ego. That's what it is. It's ego. They just
and each new manager wants to put their creative stamp on,
even though they don't have any creativity in them at all. Yeah.
So they manipulate the creative people. They could very well be scared enough from what happened with Rings of Power, to at least, okay, we know we don't want that. Yeah, that to me is our only hope.
The ideal outcome for this is it they learn from that, as you say. They produce something. It doesn't even need to be brilliant, but it's just basically competent. And then Jeff Bezos becomes like the crying soy jack meme, and he's just wailing because look what he could have had and failed to get.
Look what he could have won.
Well, there's that really good story with Tim Burton when he was making the first Batman, and there's that, I don't know if you remember the scene where the plane crashes into the steps, the bat plane crashes into the steps. So he had the big model on the steps, and the two stupid producers, I can't remember what their names were, they came on set. They were really on set, and they said, "What's the plane doing there?" They said to Tim Burton, they said, "Put it over there. It looks rubbish over there. Put it over there." So they moved the whole plane and they put it over there. And they had the cameras ready. And then the two producers went, "Right, we're going to lunch." And they went off to lunch. And then Tim Burton said, "Can you put the plane back on the steps?" And then he shot the film, the plane on the steps, which made sense. And they didn't even know. They didn't, when they watched the film, they didn't even know. So,
well, my favorite thing is I got notes back. And my rule that I learned was just go, "Yes, this is great. These are the best notes ever. I love them." Yeah. I never argued with anything, and then I wouldn't change a thing, and I'd go give the script back, and these would be the blue or the pink pages. We made all the changes you asked, and they'd go, "Yeah, okay, thanks. This is good."
Yeah. What's that famous story
Nice
about
one.
Spielberg with was it Back to the Future when one of the producers wanted to change the title of Back to I can't remember that story where they sent a letter. He sent a letter saying he wanted it to be. Do you remember it, Chato? Do you remember the story?
Yeah, I don't remember the details though.
But
Listen,
yeah, I think it was like he sent a title that he wanted Back to the Future to be, and it was really horrible. And Spielberg had a plan. He just wrote back to him saying, "Thank you very much for sending this. It made us laugh so much.
oh
do
yes,
it again."
that's right.
Yeah, it was,
This is a great joke. You clearly are a very
yeah.
funny person.
Yeah.
In our TV show, we have the Frantics TV show from 1984, which Showtime also co-produced. We have a character in our show called Mr. Canoehead, who's Canada's greatest aluminum-headed crime fighter, and our handler at Showtime had a meeting with us and said, "We've got to take the." That's a British accent. It was Texan.
Yes.
Sorry.
Is it?
We got to take the word portage out of the show. What do you mean? Because no American knows what the word portage means. Yeah, well, ask Minnesotans who live amongst lakes. They know. Yeah, I don't care. I asked my mom in Houston. She never heard the word, so we need to take it out. Honest to God, that was our exchange.
It's terrible, isn't it?
And, when South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut was being produced, and I think Paramount requested some changes be made, and so Matt Stone stole from them the only physical copy of the film that they were supposed to release and just refused to give it back to them unless they relented on their campaign to change it, which is a good approach, which I recommend more people take.
Brilliant.
That is a good idea. The
Until I send in the
undirector's
police.
cut.
To beat you up, take it off you.
Shall we move?
You know,
on
it could be
from-
it could be a new trend where the creative person gets
creative.
their final product on the screen, and then the studio promotes the studio cut.
And see which one works best.
That's right. We could reverse it. I think that's
It's the Roald Dahl approach, yeah.
that's right.
Okay. Speaking of studio cuts, moving on.
Moving on.
Anybody see this? Test screenings of Aquaman.
You say it's awful?
Not
That's
good.
some stuff. That's some stiff competition. Really is, isn't it? If that's true, worst DC EU movie ever. That's not
I
good.
refuse to believe it's worse than Wonder Woman 1984.
That was bad.
It was
That
very
was
bad.
very bad.
I hope Aquaman 2 does not start with a shopping mall sequence.
Or a shit in the bed scene.
How long have they been filming this for? It seems like forever.
Yep.
What's her name? Still in it, isn't she?
Yes. Amber Heard.
Oh dear.
Well, I was just thinking with the Wonder Woman 1984 thing, one of the criticisms of that was that Wonder Woman kind of abuses a gentleman in
Yes.
Wonder Woman 1984, and Amber Heard is in Aquaman, which is entirely unconnected, obviously.
Yeah.
Seeing a pattern of abuse here.
Connection.
Sheer double standards.
Not good. Not good at all. Ah well. I wish you
When-
luck.
Is this going to be? Is this going to be out Christmas? Is it Christmas this year?
Don't know.
Scheduled.
The thing I'm also struggling to recall is where is this now within James Gunn's DCEU? Because I know he gave his rough roadmap
Elsewhere.
for the future.
Elsewhere.
Now, yeah, is this an elsewhere one which just doesn't connect? In which case, why should we bother going to see it? Or is this one of
Exactly.
those which? Because I know one of them, The Flash, I think it was, is supposed to set up something that happens in his
Film of the
mainline
year,
story.
that The Flash. I'm calling
This
it
is
now.
not in his oeuvre.
No. Yeah. This is just the elsewhere thing that they were saying in it. All those ones that Zach did is in the elsewhere world.
It's
and-
under the we gotta play off the old shit.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Michael Keaton as Batman. Though, and he's wearing that mask where he can't turn his head. So I'm quite excited. I'm very excited. So there you go.
You know they'll make a Marvel standard joke about that, though.
Yeah, they will. They will. Yeah. I know they will. But, yeah.
Okay, so things are not looking good for Aquaman. Shall we move on?
Yeah, the notices I heard from Hollywood people walked out because it was boring
Oh.
and very heavy climate change message.
But that's good for him. If the oceans are rising, he has a bigger kingdom. What's his
That's
complaint?
right. That's right. That's right.
He's diluting the salt. He likes a certain salt level.
Boring is the biggest criticism you can make there. I mean, I was making this point in the Ant-Man review that I'm working on at the moment, which is that Phase 4 was awful, but at least I came out of those films feeling something about them. I just felt very strongly that they were garbage. But with Ant-Man, I came out of it and just didn't really feel anything for it whatsoever because it was boring. So I would almost be more sympathetic towards the next Aquaman film if people left the test screening because it was offensive in some very serious, meaningful way. But if it's just they left because they didn't want to watch the rest because it was dull, that's bad.
How could you make a superhero film dull, though? It's
Really don't know, but they're doing it. In the chat, Tim, I like saying this, Hannah-Bomb, the uninspired reviewer, one of our own, Ant-Man review. So link there, folks. Check it out. Shall we move on from Aquaman?
Yep. Who's this then? Superman?
Yeah, James Gunn. I don't know. What's he trying to do by just asking all these questions about Superman or posting images of Superman?
He's showing that he's one of the fans.
Yep.
But I hope they don't ruin Superman. I hope they don't make Superman soft. I mean, we want our heroes back, man. They keep destroying our heroes.
Well, they only got Superman right once, in my mind, in the very first movie with Reeves.
Chris Reeves, yeah.
And if you read the comics, there's an awful lot of him as Clark Kent. And he only became Superman when he needed to be Superman. It gets boring when he's Superman.
Yeah.
That's the problem. For me, anyways. I mean, Clark Kent using his reporter skills. Now, the problem is there's no more reporters. We don't view that avocation with any kind of weight anymore. There's no gravitas to being a reporter. I'm from Vox. Clark Kent, I'm from Vox. There's many problems with Superman that has got nothing to do with.
Well, as we said before, it'll have to turn it into what they did in the last Spider-Man movie and made Jonathan J. Jameson a what is it? He was on the internet, wasn't he? He wasn't Daily Bugle, wasn't newspaper.
Alex Jones.
Yeah, so they'll have to do that with.
That was funny. I thought that was clever.
Yeah, I thought
he's my favorite character in the Star Wars Spider-Man movies.
Yeah,
but Superman has never been my favorite. He's always been really difficult, and then they had to bring in this MacGuffin called Kryptonite to try to reduce his power set, which is why Batman was, to me, always better, and Batman I always felt was a Marvel character.
Well, the thing is, though, as I said in the last one, they need to do a Superman movie that's hopeful and shiny, and then bring in Brainiac to try and destroy the world, because they've never done Brainiac on film before, and that's a really bad. That villain was just in the comics that I read was really a tough opponent. So they need to do something like that, where the whole world's threatened and Superman is the only one that can save
it. Here you go, folks.
Sorry?
Sorry, Lord. Bear with me, Lord. Sorry. Not Brian in the chat. I'm Clark Kent. Sensitivity reader.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So it was worth it.
Oh, that was great.
I'd row back from the "we need to have the world at stake" suggestion,
No,
because
yes, you're right.
Every Marvel film, even we've reached the point where Ant-Man is integral to saving the multiverse. You can't really get bigger stakes anymore.
Okay,
We've done
go anywhere else.
Whereas I'm with Paul in the sense that I find Superman boring when he's Superman, because there's only so much you can do with unlimited power, unless you are going to introduce this MacGuffin, as you say.
But no, what I mean is that, right, so like, for instance, if you take a medical show, you got House and then you got Casualty, say, they're both medical shows, but it's just the way you do it. So if you do have a Superman movie where Brainiac's going to try and take over the world and he has to save the world, it's got to be a clever way to do it. There's got to be every story's been told, right, but it's the way you do it. That's what makes the huge difference.
But yeah, if you can
charming.
If you can lock Superman out of his Superman persona for an extended period of time and make him Clark Kent for much more of that, and then you've got much more access to human flaws and vulnerabilities, yes, you can do something interesting with that. The problem is that as soon as you become Superman, unless you've got kryptonite handy, and there's only so much you can do with a MacGuffin with so simple a mechanic to it, it will just become samey. And again, I have to say, every single Marvel film for the last... How long has Phase 4 been going? 2021. Since then, every single Marvel film has been doing this story you must see because we're going to save the entire world. No, I'm bored of these stories. How many times do we need to see a save the world story?
Right, Brainiac, right, doesn't need kryptonite to destroy Superman. He doesn't. He's highly intelligent, and he has all that stuff, like the robot stuff and stuff like that can destroy Superman. It's a real challenge.
But
you've never done it.
Not to write the movie, but the key to Superman's weakness is that he can't be all places at all times.
That's right. Yeah.
You could be a regular criminal element that's got a plan that involves the lives of many people, not some bomb that blows up a city.
Yeah.
And because Superman, doesn't know where what the mechanism is and how it's going to be executed, he can use Clark Kent to find those things are, and then sort out a way to deal with the fact that he doesn't want anybody to die, but the bad guys could very easily find ways to get pockets of people dead before Superman can get to him. That's his big weakness, and that I think makes for a better, more classic Superman story. You don't need a anybody with any kind of power, even the level of Brainiac, to make that work.
Here you go, folks.
It's a really, really good idea, because what you really need Superman to have to rely on is his nous and his intelligence, and not his brute physical power, his super speed, his impenetrable
laser
skin,
vision.
all of these laser vision, all of these really, really tedious mechanics. You need to give him a problem that he can only solve by going back to being essentially the journalist that is Clark Kent. And I was a reporter until about 4 months ago.
Were you?
I would love to see. I'd love to see reporters finally. Am I Superman? I couldn't possibly say, but
He's the Lord.
I don't reveal my face for a reason.
It's the Lord. It's the Lord.
But if you were going to go back and make him a journalist now, he would essentially have to. If he were a genuine reporter actually doing reporting, his entire life would be consumed with hatred by journalists with blue ticks on Twitter, because that's the modus operandi now.
And he'd be a
you get
YouTuber.
factions left and right saying, he's not a liar. What's the Trump line? Fake news.
Fake news.
All that could be a phenomenal story layer in his own personal view of himself and the level of trust and real reporting he thinks he does.
All that stuff can come into play, but you have to feature Superman. You can't just not feature him. He has to do something amazing because he's Superman. But I take all your...
But you're trying to make an interesting movie, and you can't have super bad guys in sparkly dance outfits like in 2.
I love those outfits. How dare you?
It's the best thing. It was one of the best things about even though a lot of people hated the Incredible Hulk. I like Ed Norton's version of Bruce Banner. I was more interested in Bruce Banner than I was the Incredible Hulk. And I get what you guys are saying. If we focused on Clark Kent and Superman only comes out when he has to, then that could make an interesting movie. So
and you've got Lois, and if you take a look at one of the best series of all time, which is the Galacticus versus the Fantastic Four, one of the best sequences is not the battle, it's that Ben Grimm's girlfriend, his blind girlfriend,
Alicia,
falls in love with the Silver Surfer.
Alicia,
that crushed me when I read that.
Did me too, because I love the thing.
So I mean, that was a great setup, phenomenally well executed, and Ben Grimm was beside himself. How could he lose his girl to the Silver Surfer? And then the Silver Surfer betrays Galacticus, and we get an ending. But that to me is one of the... I mean, if you don't have writing at that level in Superman, it's not going to be interesting.
That's what we need. We need
the Snyderverse is a really good example of that. So I think The only defense I'll make of Zack Snyder's direction is that he kind of recognized if Superman is just always going to be Superman and never Clark Kent, the only interesting thing you can do with him is what if he went bad? That's the only interesting question you can do, because otherwise
Superman 3
he's
was great.
unstoppable. However, and to the point you made about you need it to be actually, well written, that defense of Zack Snyder doesn't really hold because he was the one who chose to have Superman always as Superman to begin with. Therefore, the problem was of his own making because he didn't have the writing chops to imagine a more interesting use for that character.
That's an interesting point.
If Blue Boy was here, we'd agree with you because he hates Zach, doesn't he? Hates him with a passion.
Okay, we'll move on.
Spielberg. What's wrong with him?
This was a tweet from Robert Meyer Burnett trying to put two and two together and trying to, suggest to James Gunn that Spielberg is looking for new projects and killing two birds with one stone, Johnny Williams, for the new Superman movie.
I would get Spielberg and Johnny Williams to
Bond.
do James Bond. That's what I would. I reckon Spielberg would bring something great to James Bond, and Johnny Williams has already expressed that he wanted to do music for the next James Bond film. So there you go. Get them both. That's what I say.
He ruined Tintin. I don't want to see him ever again.
Okay.
He killed Tintin. I'm so mad.
There's no bigger crime than that.
Nope.
I do admire Spielberg. He's one of my favorite directors. In fact, my all-time favorite director. And yes, he's gone off the boil a bit, but he's the amount of talent that man has got. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. If you know about directing, he's one of the best in the world. He really is. The stuff that he shoots, the way he shoots it, the one as he does. He's pretty amazing as far as I'm concerned. I will stop gushing now.
Here you go, folks. Hostman being incredibly generous this evening. Another $5. Thank you, sir. They already did the bad Superman thing much better. See the Injustice comics with Mike S. Miller, Omni-Man, and Homelander.
Superman. What was that one with the Nuclear
Brightburn.
Man? Nuclear
Brightburn
Man.
was okay as well. Oh, Superman 4.
Yeah, let's remake that.
I would love to see Superman versus Homelander.
Oh, that
Homelander is one of the best villains of all time. He's up there with Fisk.
Yes.
And the actor who plays him is great.
Anthony
I've just been
Starr's
watching
fantastic. Banshee.
Banshee. Fantastic. I'm loving it.
He's
Everybody
good.
watch Banshee. Everybody watch Banshee.
Yeah, I'm on season 3.
It's
at the
incredible.
moment.
Oh, season 3, the best.
So good, so good. Not one dud episode in the entire series so far. Not one.
Is that the Western? Where he plays a cop?
Yeah. Well, it's a modern day Western, I suppose.
Yeah.
Could call it. Yeah.
Sorry, not a Western. He plays a policeman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good in that.
good.
Season
I love
3,
Homelander. What a
Yes.
sick fuck.
Season 3 of Banshee is probably the best season of TV I've ever watched.
Wow.
The boys is probably quite
It's just
indicative
incredible,
of where we're at. By some distance, the best superhero content, the best written, the best performed, is a satire on the superhero genre. And that must be indicative of something, which is that the superhero genre as mainline entertainment is dying for bad writing, bad films, bad production. And the only thing that's left where you can actually deploy good, bold, brave new ideas is if you are going to satirize the current mainstream meta. The Boys has its problems, but compare The Boys, even at its worst, to Phase 4 of the MCU, and it's like, it's being written by a different species of person. It's just good.
I agree.
Shall we move on?
Of course. I'm afraid of Spielberg.
We had the Baftas last week in Blighty,
Oh my God.
and no
Who's that
black
person in the
winners.
front with the red hair? What was that?
No idea, but there was no. All the winners were white, and there's been a bit of a stink about it.
Why?
Apparently people have resigned. Apparently,
The best people won, according to BAFTA.
Isn't this the
Did
same?
they?
Was it BAFTA which did away with gendered categories, only to
No,
discover
that
that
was
in the very next
the
year,
Brits.
every single
That was the
person who won
Brits.
was a man?
Yeah.
As the Brits.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't watch the BAFTAs. You know what? A long time ago, you used to stay up, for 4 a.m. to watch the Oscars. We made it a thing. I remember me and my friends used to, we used to have beers in and snacks and stuff, and wait till 4 o'clock in the morning to watch the Oscars and and talk about it. But I can't. Nobody watches these shows anymore. It's just taking a different turn now, isn't it, BAFTAs? So.
Also, it's incredibly insensitive to assume the racial identity of the winners of the BAFTAs. How do we know what they choose to identify as?
Yeah.
I just got you.
But seriously.
In the chat, Jim D, I'm sick. I'm so sick of identity politics. We all are, mate. Just.
I don't even know who won anything.
I have no idea.
Don't care.
I don't care either, because if you watch any award show these days, the odds that something which wins all of the awards is something that you would actually watch and enjoy is incredibly small anyway. I don't care who wins these gongs. I care that the things that win awards are actually good productions and well-written stories, and that the effects department has not just put a gloss over a turd, which is why Avatar was nominated for many awards. That's what's interesting to me. These things don't tend to win awards anyway, so I've never been particularly interested in who wins them. Who wins them is irrelevant. What wins them is much more interesting.
Are the BAFTAs the British Oscars?
Yes.
Yeah, the warm-up.
Does it mix TV and film, or is it just film?
It's just films. Yeah, they have the TV version of it, so separate.
But they, it's quite ironic that they're making a fuss about this. Yet the one black man that won a BAFTA 2 years ago, Noel Clarke, had his BAFTA taken away from him over allegations of
Careful.
misconduct.
All false.
There was 2 years ago.
All false.
There was no police report. It was allegations based on a Guardian article that is currently under litigation. So I can't say.
I trust everything the Guardian prints.
Yeah, don't we all?
That's the best joke that's been said on screen so far.
It was weird because
the
these
future belongs to
came
the future
straight
belongs
after
to
he'd
us.
won the award.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah.
As soon as he won
and he
that
had to hand
BAFTA,
it back.
yeah, out came the allegations, and it was.
They've cancelled the poor bloke, haven't they? Cancelled him for the past 2 years.
They kicked him out of the BAFTA fellowship, whatever that is, and they've not given it
For doing
given
nothing.
him
He's
back.
done nothing. It's been proven that he's done nothing. But
He's done that. There's been absolutely no. The police. He filed a freedom of information request with the police. The police provided that, said that there was
Careful what
nothing
you
to
say.
investigate, and that there were no actual reports made against him. So, if they want to give black people a BAFTA award, give Noel Clarke back his BAFTA.
I
so
agree.
okay, let's move on.
Get rid of them, folks. Give it back.
Anybody see this? Pete Docter, CEO of Pixar, obviously not John Lasseter, said Lightyear, the audiences weren't ready.
Well, I was about to say, if you were asking if anyone's seen Lightyear, you already know the answer, which is no, and we already know that. But the audiences weren't ready for what?
Lightyear?
They expected to. Well, it says there they expected to see Mr. Potato Head, Woody, and Rex.
No, we didn't.
Or Tim
didn't expect
Allen,
that
to be
at all.
fair.
This is just Disney again, fan blaming. They do this every time. They've already got it stacked up and ready for the Little Mermaid. Already throwing around accusations of racism.
Oh yes.
It's when a movie doesn't go the way they planned it to. It used to be Russian bots, then it went to review bombing, and now it's fan blaming.
The audience weren't ready for this. That's a fantastic.
It's now called the Moses Ingram plan. Are we going to launch the Moses Ingram option? Yes, launch it now. Moses Ingram bombs away.
I'm picturing like an Austin Powers style supervillains meeting where they discuss like the available options to them, the Amber Heard defense and the Moses Ingram plan.
That's right. That's right.
Will they be having the obligatory movie star doing a racism video from a car?
Yes, that is mandatory now. You got Simon Pegg. Poor Simon Pegg did one for She-Hulk. That was a sad moment.
A
Yeah,
hostage
got paid,
video.
yeah.
It was a hostage video. Yes, Ewan McGregor, Simon Pegg. How come they're getting all you Brits in these hostage moments?
Does anybody know why Peg did it? Was he so desperate for employment?
It
or...
came out of nowhere. He had
Yeah.
nothing to do with She-Hulk.
Do we know why?
I don't know whether he was joking or whether he was he was told to say it, by the
At
how would that
gunpoint.
be? Yeah, he didn't sound convincing that he really didn't. If you look at that video very carefully, it sounded like he was doing an act or something and not wanting to do it. He wasn't his jovial self.
Yeah, you're right. This is right. Someone get the Ford K car, and we're going to pull it up in front of the Tesco here. Okay, ready, Simon?
Yeah, I know.
Big.
I actually did that skit at the beginning of one of my She-Hulk videos. Was that it's a hostage video released after he was kidnapped by Al Qaeda in Disneyland. It's just, it sounded so unnatural. I mean, to compare She-Hulk with Blazing Saddles, you already know that this is insincere.
Oh,
It's a nonsense. But with Lightyear, yeah, the fans weren't ready for what? They weren't ready for the fact that there was a Toy Story spin-off. Is that the argument?
No, it failed, and they're trying to blame
Enough
the
gaming.
fans.
His argument is that this was a mature movie, a more adult movie with real science fiction that the
Really?
the Pixar audience was not ready for. That was his argument.
So the standard for real science fiction has sunk so low that Lightyear constitutes real science fiction.
Correct.
Oh,
It's right up there
dear.
with Stanislaw Lem's The Invincible. It was right up there. I mean, this is a ludicrous quote from him. And the main thing that proves him wrong is at the very beginning of the film is a slate that says this is the movie that Andy saw that got him excited, or whatever the words were, about Buzz Lightyear. No, the movie would have been made for 1984, I think. They wouldn't have had this technology.
Yeah.
The mere fact that it looked the way it looked, it
Agreed.
would have been impossible for it to be the movie that Andy saw. There's just so many holes in his argument.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, by comparison, let's say you did basically the same premise. I think the problem is largely the premise anyway. It's a film within a film, which relies on familiarity with a film franchise that hasn't put something out in however many years it's been since the last Toy Story film. That's already unnecessarily convoluted. But if you were going to pretend that this was a period piece designed to be watched by the kid involved in the mainline Toy Story things, as you say, you would have done it with the technology available at that era. And it could have been a really charming, hand-drawn Disney animated cartoon, which is the thing he would have watched
I
if he
thought
wanted
that,
to get
yes.
interested in
Yes. They missed a really good opportunity
It
to do
existed,
that. Yes.
though. There's a
Yes.
cartoon series called Star Command.
that. Oh.
That existed. It's very good. And this movie could have been the movie version of Star Command. Then it would have made sense.
It'd
Yeah.
been cheaper to make as well.
Oh, of course. And they could have even had more fun if these people had any hip value at all. It could have been the black and white cereal that, and I don't mean food cereal, I mean the
Yes.
the black and white cereal that inspired Star Command. They could have gone back and had it done in as real life, black and white, with men and women in horrible outfits, with terrible special effects.
And called it Flash Gordon.
Well, it would be. That's my point.
Or an
It
old Jerry
wouldn't-
Anderson flick.
Yes, it would. Yeah, it would star
Fireball.
Anderson. Yeah, that's right. Fireball XL5.
Yeah.
It would be. So to me, if there was any hip ideas, people capable of being really creative left at Pixar, then that's the way I would go. Yeah, a Jerry Anderson.
I thought
version of Buzz Lightyear would have made more sense.
I thought Pete Docter was a creative person.
I don't. Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
It seems to me that
Was it old John Lasseter?
quite possibly.
The stuff coming out of Pixar very recently has been dire, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Encanto wasn't a bigger hit as they thought it might be. Luca was, well, that didn't fire on all thrusters either. And the less said about Talking Red, the better.
Hey, I like
I
Turning
love
Red.
Luca.
Watch it.
Luca was great.
It was okay.
Here you go, folks. Rand's little
lovely.
toe. Jennifer Lawrence created the pixels used in Toy Story. She did.
Who
There
did,
are a limited number of pixels.
Who did Puss in Boots? What studio is that from?
That's Universal.
DreamWorks.
That's Universal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's doing quite well.
Yeah, Imagination. Yeah, Universal is killing Disney.
Still haven't seen it yet. Okay. Shall we move on from this, whatever that was?
Yeah, pixels are an important thing. Because I build websites in Canada, people say, how come the online stores in Canada are more expensive than the ones in the United States? I say, well, because we're colder. As soon as it crosses the border, the pixels, are frozen and they're heavier. And so that's why, everything is more expensive.
Speaking of expensive, Captain America: A New World Order begins filming in 3 weeks.
What, in that stupid costume?
Yes.
That costume sucks.
They
You
might
got on
change it. He's no longer, is he still going to be the flying guy?
Don't know.
Falcon.
Yeah. Mind your Falcon business.
It made sense.
Good old
But
Star
they
Trek
built
joke.
it in. With Captain America's original costume, they built in the fact that it looked a little bit silly and old-fashioned. They built that into the design. There's the most meta of all the meta lines in that first Avengers film, where he turns to Coulson and says, "Don't you think this is a bit old-fashioned?" And Coulson very correctly says, "I think with everything that's about to come to light, people could do with a little bit of the old-fashioned about now," which explains the entire popularity of the MCU in phases 1 to 3 anyway. But if you, in phase 4... have decided that this is the most up-to-date costume you can give to the Falcon / Captain America, that's not building your design into your world. That's just having bad designers.
It is. And if you look at Captain America, so basically, Joss Whedon deliberately had him in spandex when Captain America was introduced in the Avengers. But then when it went on, they kind of made the costume more like it was suited for today. So in Winter Soldier, he had a different costume according to the comics, and that looked far better. And then when he went back into his other costume, it was designed in such a way that it looked good. It was functional. But this just looks stupid.
Here you go, folks. M. Duke 84, New World Order. How German?
New World Order? You're
Dependable.
And ironically calling it New World Order. I mean, really?
Did that freckle face girl got away in that
Jesus,
TV show?
Freckle Jesus. Yeah.
Pippi Longstocking?
Yeah, did she get away, or did she get punished, or did she get killed?
She got another series doing something else, didn't she?
I watched
No, she went back in time to do Willow instead. But, no, I don't remember. I genuinely, I watched all of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I'm struggling to remember it. Apart from the ending, do better.
First 10
Senator.
minutes were incredible. That was it.
Well, I liked the premise. It being the only Phase 4 product that even began to try and deal with the consequences of the blip made it automatically better at the beginning than anything else that came about. This is the most dramatic event in the history of the in-universe world, and you have immense social consequences to account for when you bring half the world back out of existence into existence again. That's a really, really fascinating, interesting premise, and I remember at the beginning, when this was around the time of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Kevin Feige was saying, of course, Phase 4 is all about dealing with the consequences of the blip. And fine, I'm all for that, because that is the ideal grounds to do films like Spider-Man and Ant-Man, who are fundamentally small-scale local heroes who can deal with the very profound local consequences of the blip. But nothing after Falcon and the Winter Soldier happened. Sam Wilson says, "You got to do better, Senator." And then that's fine. We're now done. You get Kevin Feige doing an interview saying, we're basically done with the blip now. And then Ant-Man comes out at the beginning of Phase 5, and the premise of Ant-Man's present-day timeline is that his daughter protests
Clueless.
because there's still the consequences of the blip. It's like there's no plan to any of this stuff. Shocking suggestion, I know. It's baffling how they've managed to take this very, very rich premise, pretend to deal with it, and pretend that it was the sole motive for doing Phase 4, then forget about it entirely, then say, of course, we've done that now, so we don't need to do it again, and then to bring it back again as though nothing preceding had happened. I just wish anyone with an ounce of integrity had taken a look at the scripts for the entirety of Phase 4 and said, how the hell does this actually fit together? But it doesn't, because no one did.
I'm a massive fan of Anthony Mackie.
I think he's great.
He's been sold short. I just
He
think
has. I'm
he's
sick of Marvel
fantastic.
treating their roles as mantles. So you've got Hulk, and now you've got She-Hulk, and you've got Ironheart. You've got diverse Captain America and a female Black Panther, and they're just handing off all the things that made the series popular to people who are going to just make it less popular.
Eager folks in the chat, the uninspired reviewer. You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up.
It's all right saying that, but he
I think
didn't
we
have
all
a
have.
solution to follow it up with, did he?
It's just more government. That's the answer. Government has created the problem, therefore we need more of it to solve the problem. Brilliant. Well done.
Hegelian dialectic.
Nobody even talks about the hand sticking out of the crust of the earth.
Oh god, yes, I completely... No, wait, that's the one thing She-Hulk did account for, because you could see it in the web browser when she was looking on the internet once, so we've accounted for that now, so that's fine.
Oh, right, so we can just ignore that now.
Yes, yeah, like the Sokovia Accords, that incredibly dramatic event which was the premise for the entirety of Civil War. Yeah, we just got rid of that off screen, so that's fine. She-Hulk told us so. That's why it doesn't come up again. It's just, oh my god. The baffling thing is it's such a huge property with so much that you could do with it, and it's built up so much with consequences that you could spend loads of time exploring, and it would take someone with 2 brain cells to find interesting ways to explore that, and it didn't happen. I don't understand how it could have gone so badly wrong from such a high beginning. It's too quick a decline to be attributable to audience fatigue. Or even writing fatigue. Like, there's something else must be going on for this massive, rapid decline in quality.
Yeah,
and just
James
forgetting
Gunn
about
left.
everything you've done. Oh well,
James Gunn
there's
left.
That. True.
He was the one who kind of architected the whole last chunk of the Thanos universe.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know.
Yeah, he stitched it all together.
There's a bombshell, everybody.
He did. I mean, again, I would say this again, right? Marvel is a boy's own thing. It always has been and always will be. For them to eject all this feminine rubbish into the Marvel universe and carry on like that, they're catering to a tiny audience, and I don't understand the logic at all.
Ian, are you not excited for the Marvels?
I am. It's going to make me lots of money. I'm very
Of course
excited.
it is. Of course it is. Yeah.
That's all it's good for, really, isn't it? Content for YouTubers.
Okay, shall we...
Oh,
Go on,
okay.
Lord. We'll
Well,
leave
no,
the
no.
final word with you, mate.
The problem with these new heroes that they brought in to take up the mantle, I don't have a problem in principle with taking up of mantles. I mean, that as far as I know, is an established comics mechanic anyway. It's the way the mantle is transferred to characters who've done nothing to earn it, and who do nothing to earn it, and who we're told from their first scene are perfect, and that what we owe them is applause and acclamation, rather than to explore their flaws and to explore their failings. So you get Riri Williams, you've got America Chavez, you've got Cassie Lang, you've got any of the number of female heroes who've been brought in to effectively replace their male counterparts. Hawkeye's kind of similar, and they are perfect from the beginning. So you're never going to get Tony Stark levels of investment, because our investment in his character was because his character was so very deeply flawed. He was evidently a genius and a billionaire and brilliant, but on the human level, he was a complete shit. And that created huge conflict, which led to Civil War, which led to very dramatic events within the MCU as a whole. And it was only by overcoming those things and becoming a good person, being prepared to pay off the line in the first Avengers film about him never being willing to lie down on the barbed wire to let the other guys crawl over him, is paid off in Endgame when he does exactly that. But you will never get that again if your heroes are perfect from the beginning, which all the female heroes that have been introduced now are. Why should we care about these people? Because
As long as you
nothing...
call insufferable, perfect.
Well, they haven't earned their stripes, have they, Ben? They haven't.
No.
None of them have earned their stripes. Unlike people like Captain America, Iron Man. To a certain extent, I guess Bruce Banner. Do you know what I mean? So it's just a waste of my time.
Even in Ant-Man, Cassie Lang becomes the foremost genius in the quantum realm because she spent a few years reading Hank's journals.
Yeah.
And then they go down to the quantum realm, and she wants to take the side in the fight against I can't remember his fucking name. Kang, that's the one. She wants to side with the rebels against Kang, and Scott says, no, it's not our fight. But you already know that the film believes she's in the right to begin with. So there's no growth on her part. She doesn't learn anything in that experience. Scott has to learn from his 15, 16-year-old daughter what his moral centre is supposed to be.
She's the bestest ever, mate.
Yeah, well, apparently, yes.
Well, apart from Shuri and Ray Williams, who are both other fantastic female geniuses.
But what's sad is that a lot of people that I know went to see the film, they don't see these things that we're pointing out, and they say it was okay. Oh, I really did. It was all right. I thought it was enjoyable. Do you know what I mean? And it just goes way over their head, and they don't realise them being,
Oh yeah,
Well,
my
it's all
favorite
bish, bash,
defensive
bosh, isn't it?
favorite defensive Ant-Man is you just don't let yourself enjoy things. It was never supposed to be as good as Endgame. Was it? Well, if you're saying that, then you get what you fucking deserve, don't you? Like you are advertising that you are the lowest common denominator. Go away. Stop ruining good artwork for everybody else. Why should we aspire to create something that actually holds together on the level of story? Because the audience doesn't demand that we do that anymore. Yes. Anyway.
Well, when we don't know what excellence looks like, then mediocrity looks like excellence.
True
Yeah.
point.
Well, it's the old adage of failing upwards. I think what you've got is a culture where all the talent has gotten old, retired, moved on, and then you've got these schools pumping out all these university grads into these industries who don't really know their arse from their elbow, and they think they're God's gift. And it is a culture of failing upwards because people don't like to hire other talented people because it makes them look inferior. So they hire people beneath their talents.
We're doomed, mate. Okay. We're doomed. Shall we move on?
Yes, please.
We're reaching the end now, folks.
Move
along. This dropped this evening just before we came on. Anybody see this?
Yeah.
What a surprise. Biggest second week drop, isn't it, for the Marvel stuff?
Still not enough though. That should be nobody went to see it. That's when I'll be happy.
100%.
Yeah. But,
Who's
Well, it's as near as damn it.
who's seen Ant-Man?
I haven't. I'm not going to either.
No, I just can't be bothered.
Remotely
Paul, have
Nope,
you seen
I
Ant-Man?
haven't seen it, no.
Are you going to bother?
I was a fan of the first one. I thought there was some
I thought it was
genius
fun.
moments in it.
Yeah, fun, yeah.
The second one was
The fight scene on the train set was fantastic.
brilliant.
Yes. Thomas the Tank Engine looming out of the backdrop. That's
Howling with laughter.
So clever.
And I knew Quantumania was going to be a piece of shit only because the charm of Ant-Man is his existence in a corporeal world. That is where he has to be. It's a heist movie. Where was Louis, for crying out loud? I can't imagine a movie I haven't seen it, but it looked like it was all going to be CGI.
yes.
How is that part of the Ant-Man scale? You've lost it. You've completely lost the whole premise behind Ant-Man.
And it's Ant-Man, not Atom Man.
Well, yeah, Ant-Man is another character.
Yeah.
And just the level of disregard it shows to its own progenitor films. It can't even remember the excuse for rules that it came up with in earlier Ant-Man films. So as far as I recall of Ant-Man 2, the premise is if they don't save Janet Van Dyne from the quantum realm within 2 hours, then they will miss her by 200 years.
Right.
Whereas in this film, you go down and you find that even though the film explicitly tells us several times the quantum realm exists outside of time, you find that time has progressed along exactly the same lines as time in the real world has done. the premise of Kang being trapped down there is that it's exile for him because he's outside time, so can't control it anymore. And yet one of the greatest threats he levels against other characters is that he will make them die and die and die again infinitely in time, despite the fact he can't control time because he's in the fucking quantum realm, which was the premise for the film. What are you... Oh.
The Lord has spoken, folks. The Lord has spoken.
It's terrible.
And I think you make a good
reason,
observation.
damn you.
That Marvel, I have noticed, just rightly or wrongly, and call me a Luddite, that they don't think like a network, and they don't know how to exploit and extract every ounce of the premises that they've created until the audience has become bored with it. So my best example for that is Ms. Marvel. Fantastic first show. A young Pakistani girl. We got some really good, Pakistani flavors and spices. The family dynamic was fun. It was great. She finds she's got these superpowers, but she has to exist in a terrible high school environment. It's basically Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You've set it up. There's nothing wrong with repeating that. But no, they fly her off to Pakistan, and then it becomes this huge thing, and there's bigger powers, and then there's this gigantic battle at the very end with one of her relatives. And I'm going, that should have been season 3, 4. Marvel doesn't get how to do network TV. The first season should have been just her dealing with the shit at school. So Ant-Man, they got it's a heist movie. The second, kind of, sort of was. They heisted a whole building, and then they kind of went off the rails. They don't know how to make the mundane exciting. I think they get bored with their own ideas.
I think Feige had an idea about how to structure the MCU when he first started, and he was clever because he hired directors, obviously that he could afford, that were good at their job, and he hired actors that were good at their job as well, and that's how he stepped forward, and then the next one and the next one and the next one. But seems like with this era, he's not really bothered about it. He's hiring people that don't know what they're doing. Imagine hiring a director that won an Oscar for some serious movie to direct that. What's that the little Chinese girl, whatever, that directed that? What's that worst? That film was awful.
Internals.
What does she know? She doesn't know anything, and it just goes
Chow,
show the
Zoe,
movie,
yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah.
She doesn't know how to direct something like that, and the movie was just awful. So he's hiring the wrong people.
And the Russos abandoned.
Yeah,
and
Close out.
And then now they're up for an Oscar.
So
Eternals, not internals. That's something.
Yeah, I call it the internals.
The internals.
Yeah, I call it the internals.
So you're right, but Iron Man, you had two inexpensive entities, Favreau and Iron Man. What's his name? Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Both of those were discount talent.
They were, but the thing about Feige is he knew that Favreau had talent because the films that he made money, and obviously, what is it?
He was an up and comer. He was definitely an up and comer.
And what's his name? Junior. He won an Oscar, didn't he? For did he not win for Chaplin?
Yeah, a long time ago. But and Hollywood loves a redemption story.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than hiring a talented ex-alcoholic.
Yeah. But he's got the chops, though. He
did.
So I'm saying. So that was a good call there. You got him for a discount price, and he was there to lead. And now he's there leading. Well, he was leading the Marvel Universe. Now
Remember
he's not.
when actors had charisma? Remember when actors had
Yes.
charisma? Charm?
But they also understood. They also understood
mystery.
way back in Phase 1. They understood
Shut your
that
mouth.
if you're going to get the audience to care about the stories you're telling, you do actually have to make the story kind of relevant to the audience's daily lives and the experiences that they've had. You have to begin by building from the ground up, you have a set of heroes who are explicitly tied to the current day in order that we understand the stakes of their personal stories. And only once you've done that do you start to expand it to bigger galaxy-spanning stakes, but you still then have the introduction of newer characters, like Ant-Man at the close of Phase 2, who bring things back down to a manageable level again. So you've got the Avengers saga, which expands, but Ant-Man comes in and Spider-Man comes in and reminds you that these things have real human consequences. Whereas Phase 4 comes along. I mean, even Thor. Thor was explicitly tied to the real present day because he was brought down from Asgard, which is kind of an indefinable concept anyway, to have to live amongst humans. That's how we learn to care about him.
Yeah.
And then you build from that point. Phase 4, though, Phase 4 takes everyone. Doctor Strange has a multiverse now. Multiverse is fundamentally unknowable, and no attempt is made to make it knowable.
Yeah.
Ant-Man has the quantum realm, which is basically another multiverse. No attempt is made to make that relevant or knowable to anyone. If you keep blowing the stakes up like this and stop trying to remind the audience that these are the consequences in your daily life, then the audience will just run out of patience because there is nothing to grab onto anymore.
I tell you one thing though, I've never been so excited in all my life when the Avengers movie happened. Just the idea of all of those characters are going to be in the same movie. Just I had to buy my ticket there and then. I remember.
You mean Peel and Steed?
yeah.
I'm looking forward.
That's a thinking man's joke, that, folks.
Can I just point out in the chat that Pion says, "What's everyone's favourite phase?" And the answers are puberty.
Yes, we know.
Denial.
Puberty.
That tickled me. I like
Goth is definitely one.
My favorite was Phase Dunaway.
Me too. Denial. Very good. They're thinking man's jokes. Okay. Shall we move on? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
And finally...
This is for the Brits.
Oh, John Motson.
John Motson died this week after a 50-year career with the BBC. Football commentator, 77.
I mean, they didn't fire him and replace him with a black woman.
I think they're going to do that.
Yeah.
Soon. So that's the BBC for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I hate football, but I always remember his voice when my family were watching football. Yeah. So.
I love football, and I'm too young to really remember John Motson, but I do remember he's always the voice in every clip of any match that I ever watched from basically before the 90s. Really iconic voice. But interestingly as well is that I think I'm right in saying he's the person who he revolutionized football commentary in a way, because prior to John Motson, you had a very sort of formalized, very RP approach to football commentary, where they just described events with no emotion. And John Motson comes along, and this is a working class guy speaking, on the working class level to working class fans, recognizing that these are the people who really watch and enjoy football. And so much like why is his name gone? There was a really good counterexample, which is not going to work if I don't remember his name. Who interviewed Nixon?
David
famous
Frost.
British
David
Frost.
Frost.
Yeah, David Frost is the guy who revolutionizes political interviews on TV.
Yeah.
Without David Frost, you would never have Jeremy Paxman, for example.
That's true.
That slightly irreverent tone, conversational tone, ability to make jokes, and not just to be deferential and formal. John Motson is basically the Frost of football commentary, and did an immense amount for a sport that I very much enjoy.
Yeah.
As a Canadian, I think the law should be only Brits are allowed to commentate football. That's my perspective.
I'm not American football either. Okay.
No, that's not football. I'm talking about the real football. Only Brits are allowed to commentate.
So, rest in peace, John Motson. I didn't even know he was ill. Apparently, he was in the pub the night before he died.
Wow.
I don't think he was ill, was he? He was just incredibly old.
No, he's 77. That's not really old.
No.
Okay,
I mean,
well, for me, that's really old, but for you guys, maybe not.
Well, I'll ask you when you're... If I'm still alive, I'll ask you when you're 60.
Everyone gets to that time. I remember thinking that when I was your age, Ben, going, I'm not going to get old, and suddenly I'm here. So
there you go, uninspired. 77 isn't old.
No, it's not. It's not.
Just
some
the
people just die in
arrogance
their
of youth.
sleep. Did he die in his sleep?
Yes, apparently.
Yeah, some people just do,
Okay. Right. Okay. So, rest in peace, John Motson. I think that is it, folks. Please consider donating to the channel. A few of you have links in description or pinned messaged. There he is, Paul.
Such a devastatingly
Paul-
handsome man.
Yeah, Paul, you need to get some more user-accessible, high-res pictures of your good self available. But
Well, just ask for some. I've got some semi-naked.
And if you pay, he's got the full naked ones as well.
Absolutely. I will give you
we'll do a
my
GoFundMe. for that.
Patreon naked Paul channel.
All credit cards are.
So,
Except,
think-
yes.
I think that is it, folks. So,
It's American
chat, you are wonderful, but you already know that. I will thank the guests. Probby, cheers, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Z,
This has been
thank
great.
you.
You guys are wonderful.
You're very welcome.
As are you,
Always
dear
a
sir.
pleasure.
Lord, thank you.
Thank you as ever.
Ian, thank you, my friend.
No worries, guys. No worries.
And last but by no means least, the wonderful Paul Chato. Thank you, my friend.
I appreciate it.
Hey.
Good topic.
Genuinely
I'm crushing
great to
your
have you on,
head.
my friend.
I'm crushing your head.
What about free? What
That's
about
another
Free?
comedy group. That's the Kids in the Hall.
What about Z? You didn't say thank you to Z.
I
He
did.
did.
Oh, you did. Oh,
He
sorry.
did.
I'll take it back.
I will say,
Standing
Paul,
for
best
Z.
of luck with the 100k.
Oh, sure.
I can feel them within weeks.
I have to be
Knocking down
honest
your
with you.
door.
I don't care. I'm just enjoying myself.
Good approach.
Yeah.
I think that is it, folks. So we will see you hopefully next weekend. I think we're doing The Godfather on Saturday. So we will Godfather 2. So we will see you for that. We will be back next Sunday also. So that's it, everybody. Have a great week.
Ta-ra.
We will see you very soon. Top draw tonight, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.